Hello there. Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm your host, Rockin Robbie Billups, and today is the best day of the month. It's time for the monthly comic book review. We have an amazing assortment of esteemed comic book YouTubers and readers, and even some collectors, to talk about the greatest comics of September 2023 with slight spoilers involved. And there may be some debate about the adequacy of Tom King as a writer. So let's get into it tonight. Joining us, we have the one and the only from Nerdtastic News here on YouTube. It's Manny.
Hi, Robbie. I'm so glad I'm here.
I'm glad to have you here. I know it was a long flight.
I am very interested in a very robust discussion.
All right. And do remember that this episode is brought to you by viewers like you. And of course, Corn Bits. Also from Nick. I can't keep this up. From Nick, what's up, everybody? I was trying to do the NPR thing for a second. All right, I can't keep it up though. Nick from Comic Culture is here as well. What's up, Nick?
Jesus Christ! I was like, what is this NPR land? Are we going to talk about sweaty balls pretty soon? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, happy to have you here. Long time no see, my man.
Absolutely, dude. How you been?
It's been a long week, but it's been a great week. But it's been a long week without you in my life, Nick. Oh. Anyway, it's been a long few months without this man physically in my life. It's the one and the only Chris from Lost in Comics. What is up?
Did somebody say sweaty balls? I am here. No.
Hell yeah, you are here. We also have Carrie from Officially Unofficial Geek in the house. What is up?
Hi. I'm ready for that robust Tom King action.
We're not even. Well, watch us just skim right on through it. We're just gonna be like, oh yeah, liked it, didn't like it, whatever.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And he hasn't been here for 2 or 3 months, so I'm very excited to welcome back to the stage the one and the only Brianiac. How you doing, Brian?
Doing all right.
Now I'd like 2 eggs over hard.
Dang.
It's been so long.
You're really good at that.
About that bit, right? Yeah.
I did. Yeah, but yeah, it's actually been 6 months, I think, since I've done this show. It's been a long
6
time.
months.
Wow.
Yeah.
If we win the award, by the way, you only get half of an award then. That's the way. By the way, we are nominated for a Comic Book Community Award. You can go to cbcawards.org. Link in the description below. Some fine mod will throw it up in the chat as well. Go and vote for this very exact show for best collaboration, and also vote for me for best hair and beard and best everything else that we're nominated for, because you really want to help us out. And Carrie's nominated for best unknown channel. So hook us all up, everybody. Oh, and Chris, vote for Chris.
Oh, that's right.
For when he's up against
Chris
me.
is up for one of those thingies too.
You know what? Vote for Chris. I don't care. It's fine. Whoever you vote for.
Whatever. Vote
however you like, or don't vote, man. Rock whether you vote or don't vote, or whoever you vote for, just rock that damn vote. That's all we're saying. All right.
Rock that vote.
Tonight we're talking about the best comics of September 2023. There may be some slight spoilage popping out tonight, but we're not going to get too nitty and gritty. Maybe if we do, we're going to let you know for sure. And I'm going to do something I don't typically do. I'm not going to go first. So, Manny, you get the first pick out of everything that came out in September.
Oh, no. He's got no fear because he's like, Manny just picks a random book always.
I got no fear because nobody's got my picks tonight, buddy. So
nobody?
Yeah, I feel like nobody.
Are you sure?
You're right. Nobody else liked Penguin. All right, but
Manny, what's your pick of the month?
My pick of the month is Kill Ya Darlings. Kill Ya Darlings. I absolutely loved this book. I have a graphic up, but it's not showing up. But anyway, that said, Kill Ya Darlings was great. It was completely unexpected. I didn't know what it was going to be going into it. I just, jumped in completely blind and was amazed. All right. It had whimsy. It had fantasy. It was like Alice was trying to find her way into a haunted wardrobe, tripped, fell through the looking glass, and ended up in blood-soaked Narnia. All right, that bit sounded better in my head, but the point is, it was so damn cool. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to unpack. There's some like symbology in there that I'm not quite sure whether or not it's in there to be pretentious and like and whatnot, or if it's in there because it's gonna go somewhere because there was witches and there was like emotional abusive parents and parents going through things and stressing their kids out, and then there was dead teddy bears, an entire fantasy realm of dead teddy bears. So I'm not 100% sure if all that is going to tie together cohesively, but it was a book that lingered with me and stuck with me throughout the month. So Kill Your Darlings, definitely my pick of the month.
Man, I remember, so like issue 2 is coming very soon, and I was recently doing an order or getting ready for it to show up or something, and that title crossed my mind. I was like, man, I know I read that. I don't remember it. So you helped refresh me a little bit, but I think I remember just being slightly underwhelmed with that one, or maybe that was Tear Us Apart. I don't know. For some reason, I'm actually getting these kind of confused, but that was the one where you said, so like the girl's going, like she's in the house, but like I don't know. I don't remember this one.
So like it's about this little girl, and she's got this like Renfest of teddy bears, and you go into her mindscape, which is like really, really cool. It's got that kind of twig kind of quality to the artwork where it's just really whimsical and fun. And then, you get to see her as she goes to school. You get to see her interactions with her mother.
And there's like, they're going to kill one of them, right? Or some shit like that.
Yeah, they're trying to negotiate this peace treaty. It's like Lord of the Rings, right? But in a way that's written because teddy bears are cute and they with your childhood. So anyway, it's like Lord of the Rings. She's negotiating this peace treaty, and then something happens and it destroys all of the bears in her kingdom. And then there's also something that happens at the end that I don't want to talk about because it's spoilery.
Okay.
But but anyway, my point is, it leads into a twist that you don't see coming. It's very compelling. It's very good. Robbie, you used to like good books, and I don't know what happened. This was a good one that you should have enjoyed because it was really, really dope.
Well, one thing I definitely have learned from that bit is that before I read issue 2, I should probably reread issue number 1. So yeah. What'd you think about it, Nick? Did you read it?
I did. I liked it a lot. I liked the fact that, like, okay, she's apparently this girl is just living with her mom. There's no dad in the book, right, Manny? It's just the mother in here, and they're all struggling and that. So I like what they did with the coloring, where everything that's like really going on in this little girl's life is black and white, and then when she goes into her imagination land, everything is just completely crazy. There's colors everywhere. There's imagination run wild, but there's also like this witch element that we have to discover a little bit more, and it's apparently bleeding into her imagination and making her maybe possessed and doing some crazy stuff.
Yes.
At the end of the yeah, exactly.
Nick, you did what Manny couldn't. You reminded me of that book. I understand. I remember the one now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like all the themes and stuff. I thought it was cool. It was whimsical. It was dark. It was depressing. It was moody. It had a lot of like feels in it, and it's some surprises and mystery still. So yeah, I totally dug it. It was on my at least rapid fire list. So that was a good one, I thought.
Nice. What about you, Chris? Did you read that one?
I did. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that I'm having the reminder now from Nick and Manny, because I too had forgotten just a little bit about it, but now I'm remembering the ending. That is definitely spoilery, because I think that's what really, that lead up to that ending. But yeah, I mean, is she, what's real, what's not real? Is it all just something that she's using to, kind of cope with what's going on in her life? Those are question marks, right? Things that I think we're going to find out as we go through the series. I think there's, what all is she dealing with? Is it, depression, anxiety, whatever those things are? I like where we're going with this quite a bit. And I am remembering it as we're talking about it, because I actually didn't have it on my notes here. So
nice.
Good book.
Very good book. These are the best comic book conversations where you're like, I read it. I don't remember it, but I read it. Carrie, did you read this one?
I did not read this one, but I'm definitely digging that homage cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Evil Dead cover. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Evil Dead cover. See, okay. Thank you, Nick. Manny, take some notes. All right. Brian, did you read this one?
No, I didn't. Considering this was probably the heaviest month I've had in a couple of years of comics, I'm surprised I didn't see it. So,
well, one thing about this month is I remember last month in August, we were talking about slim pickings this month, y'all. Good luck. Right. But September, when I put together my list and I left some stuff out that I could have put on here, like It is a pretty solid month for comics, man. There's some really, really solid, good stuff. All right, Kill Your Darlings, #1, Manny's pick of the month. What about you, Nick? What's your favorite comic book of September 2023?
You gotta stop doing that. So I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna. Well, I know I'm gonna save that one for later. So this one is going to be a Mark Russell book. So this one's actually Second Coming Trinity issue number 6. I absolutely loved this issue. Man, what do you say about this book? This one was probably the most entertaining book of the month for me. It was just completely nonstop. So basically, we have what's his name? Sunfire. What's the main hero's name?
Sunstar, I think.
Sunstar. That's our
Something like
Superman
that.
analog in a way. He's got a child, little baby Jordan, I believe his name, and he's superpowered as well. He's going completely nuts. He went missing because our superhero analog and Jesus, like the actual Jesus, got into a fight about the future of this baby, and he starts wrecking shop all through the town. The entire issue is like this baby playing with toys, but the toys are like buses and trains and actually impacting people, and like the military comes and he starts whooping all their asses too. And it was just hilarious all the way through. There's like a news reporter who's super jealous about this woman as well, and the mother of the child and stuff, and so she's passive aggressive on the air while this tragedy is happening. It's like the most entertaining, most fun book that I read this week, or this month rather. And the end, Russell has this way of like being very poetic as well. If you read some of the other books like Traveling to Mars and things like that, like he always has this inner monologue or this dialogue that he puts on top of his story that's always related to the story, but it reads like poetry every single time. And it was just great. So it came in with like this action, this humor, this comedy, with like this resolution, this sad resolution, and then this like melancholy poem at the very end. So it was like it hit all the emotions. And so yeah, Second Coming Trinity, what a great issue this month.
I love Second Coming. First of all, Mark Russell had a hell of a September, right? He had a hell of a month. He had some really great releases, some good stuff, including a new one that came out this week that maybe somebody's going to bring up. Who knows? But Second Coming has been so great because what could just be a silly, satirical, sacrilegious, kind of transgressive-y kind of book actually has a lot of heart and even charm to it, right? It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it also takes its subject very seriously, right? The subject of Christ, the subject of Superman. It's taking those very seriously, and how actually these figures should elevate us as humanity and the troubles that they go through, realizing the weight of that expectation on them, right? And when I'm reading the series, though, volume 3, I'm reading it through and I'm like, you know what? I don't get a through line for this. I don't understand how it's all going to like really tie together. When you get to the very last page of this, it ties so much into the first issue of volume 3. It's perfect. And I am so ready for part 4. And I think that this has the potential to be one of those kind of deconstructions of ideas and mythologies and archetypes and superheroes that will stand up there with things like Rick Veitch's The One, or even dare I say, The Watchmen. Who knows? I mean, it's too early to throw that word out there yet. But anyway, yeah. Chris, did you read this one?
Man, as you guys are talking about it, I'm getting just sad that I am behind on this. I'm in volume 2 still. I'm catching up to you guys, so I'm behind. I have not read this.
Nice. All right, but at least you're on the right path.
I'm on board.
That's all that matters.
You got good times ahead too, still.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Well, and some not so good times. Carrie, you reading this one?
I am 0 for 2 now because I'm thinking of picking this up. Did they do? Does Ahoy usually do trades at all? I'm not very familiar with.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember Robbie mentioning this like months ago on the show, and I sat there thinking, well, isn't Superman supposed to be like an allegory for Moses or Jesus and all that stuff? So it's kind of interesting to see a different perspective of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
What I love is this was originally a Vertigo book that you can tell he intended to be ongoing. But Ahoy, you never know if you're going to have a returning series from them, right? So it's nice that we have the promise of even a 4th volume on the horizon. Brian, I know you're a huge Mark for Mark. So what do you think?
I loved it. And you're right. I am a Mark for Mark. I may have mentioned this before, but I met him in Portland in like 2017. He was doing a book signing at a comic book shop and went over there, and I hadn't read any of his stuff at that point, but that was when he was about halfway through Flintstones, which I never expected to read a Flintstones comic, well, ever, let alone enjoy it. And like it was very eye-opening. And you know, he did a like a crossover with Booster Gold and the Flintstones. Not a huge Booster Gold fan.
Would you say that you had a yabba dabba do time reading that book?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's the Flintstones, and if you start reading, you know, some of his stuff, like, you know, he's putting all of his normal, you know, kind of, you know, political stuff and jokes and all that stuff in there, and they're fantastic. So, but yeah, this series is one of my favorites by him, though. It's it deals with, like you're saying, you know, weighty matter and everything like that, and no, he's all right.
You don't get good like vibrations from Marky Mark. Oh yeah, Wahlburgers. We got one of those here. They're all right. Yeah. I think they're okay.
It's all right.
I think it's all right. It's all right.
Yeah, it's okay.
You didn't love it as
and
much.
You get to see a lot of Marky Mark because they have all their movie posters.
For me, I would be hanging around the Wahlburgers just to see if I could see Donnie. So.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
He's got the right stuff. All right, Manny. What about you, man? What do you think about Second Coming?
I made it a point to read this one because it gets brought up every single month. Yay. And you know what I walked into? I walked into a really cool, like third act climax type scene. Like this is the buddy. This is like 3 Men and a Baby, and they like lost the baby, and now they're looking for the baby. Like that's what this scene is. There's like this guy, Night Justice, and he's got a cool car, and Jesus is driving around looking for a baby, and the baby's pushing a bus down the road. Like this was a really cool bonkers scene. I had no context for it, but I enjoyed it. I liked it. The artwork was
this
good.
the first
time I've ever read Second Coming. I was like, you know what? I know.
I thought about doing that. By the way, I thought about doing that.
You basically started on issue 18.
No, I'll be lost.
You started on issue 18, bro, and you were like, I'm lost.
I was like, one of the white boys is gonna pick Second Coming. I know it. I'm gonna do it. And so I read it and I was like, this is super confusing. But it was all right. I liked it. There was a moment. There's a moment when when Mary is warning Jesus about the Romans, and it was like just the idea of like parents and kids and caring about like that connected with me. Mostly because my kid was like halfway down the road before I even noticed it. So I was like, this is eye-opening to me. I need to be a better parent. And I learned that from Stardrop Man or whatever his name is. This was it was a really good book. And it was a really good read. I'm excited to go back. I think that there's apprehension as a Christian man to like jump into a book where like Jesus is a character, because you're like, is it gonna cross any lines that's gonna make me uncomfortable? It did not. Absolutely did not. This was a really good book.
I don't know. It doesn't cross lines like that about Jesus. It might cross some of those lines about God, but not Jesus necessarily.
When he's teaching the class, he's like, no, you know, he's talking about punishment, and he's like, no, it makes life matter all the more. I was like, damn right, you got this. You Mark Russell, you got some shit.
He's never he always touches on really sensitive subjects, but he does it in a very delicate way. And he doesn't do it from a side where he's like, oh, he's clearly over here, or he's coming from this perspective. It's always there's a little bit of levity to it, and it's always very creative the way he approaches it.
Would you guys say that it's kind of on par with Dogma?
I would say that that's actually kind of a good comparison as far as Dogma captures spirit over like while it's making fun of the dogma, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And it does the same thing, but it I would say it's similar, but it's more Mark Russell-y. It's Manny, me knowing you, I think that you will actually find book 1 and 2 very powerful, like I did. There's a moment where Jesus goes to this like theme park. It's all the Jesus themed, and he's like, "Oh my goodness, people love me now. Everybody loves me. They got these mega churches. They got these theme parks. Like things are so much different now." But then he's like trying to like give away free stuff, and he's trying to like take care of people, and he winds up getting beaten and arrested. And then while he's in the jail, it just cuts all the goofiness out. And it gets very serious and somber. And he looks up and he goes, you know what? Nothing's changed.
No, he's still flipping over money changer tables. I like it.
Exactly.
I'm excited to jump in. I'm digging it.
I think you should check it out.
Mark Russell's dug deep into religious type stuff. He's got a couple books out about it too and everything like that. So I think there's deeper introspection on a lot of these things that comes through
Right.
in a lot of this that you wouldn't normally get, you wouldn't necessarily get from Dogma, right? I mean, it's
Right.
like it's good.
Yeah.
It's
It doesn't have any dick and fart jokes, really.
Yeah,
Not like Dogma does.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a shit demon. Speaking of shit demons,
Oh
Chris.
no!
What the hell? What the hell, dude?
Wow.
let's
Wow.
so the cars land where they
you
land,
asked,
Chris.
man.
They
You
land where they
asked.
land.
I'm afraid that it all comes down to it being my fault, Chris. I'm sorry.
Carrie's the one that brought
Oh,
up Dogma.
shoot.
All right, Chris, love of my life. What did you think? What's your
Pick of the month? Wonder Woman. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, let's
Wonder Woman is safe for a very special woman.
yes, I'm just kidding. So I feel like I have to go with this book, just so that Robbie doesn't go with it. And it was actually, as I look at my list, it was my favorite. And it's Swan Songs, issue number 3. Once again, here we go, baby. We got the end of the world. So first issue was just the end of the world. Now we're at the end of the world, which obviously is different than the end of the world. But I mean, as you're reading this comic through the first part of the book, it seems like this very beautiful love story that's brewing. Maybe the hope of what new life can form out of the ashes and the ending, and radioactive world that's been that's been blown to pieces, right? But as you start to go through this book, it kind of starts to get a little bit dark, and this beautiful thing that is happening with these two humans that are left on Earth. We also find out that there's more happening. There's 3 scientists that are also alive, and they've been sitting in a bunker somewhere. And when they feel that the radiation levels have come down, they make their way out into the Earth. And they're excited, but they've got their hazmat suits on. And this couple that has been falling in love, I say falling in love, they think they're the only 2 humans left, so they naturally kind of gravitate toward each other and naturally form this bond, and which leads to them making love and being a couple. And she gets pregnant. I kind of don't want to give too many spoilers here, but this is what happens, right? But the hook is, right, let me get back to this. So scientists, they come out, right, and they make their way out, and because this couple has been together and they've been planting seeds and making a garden and starting life over, they see these scientists come in as a threat. They've been reading this zombie survival guide, and they have been taking the words of that survival guide a little too serious. So when they see these scientists, they go to the natural human instinct to protect what they have, and they kill the scientist. Spoiler alert! But the hook is
supposed to come first, Chris.
I know, man. I'm so sorry. What's in this thing?
Spoilers!
What is in this thing? My brain's like 2 seconds off, man. But the hook is, like, what if we could start all over again? If the world did end and we had that opportunity, wouldn't we want to make it better, right? If we had that opportunity to start over, do it all better the next time around. Like, we've seen all the issues, right? We talk about W. Maxwell Prince frequently around here, right? And we always talk about how he has this knack for describing humanity. And once again, he did it in this book. I think, man, I'm just opinion here, but one of the biggest flaws as humans is that when our backs are against the walls, many times we repeat history, and many times we make the same mistakes over and over. And in this case, right at the smack dab beginning of this new world and the ending of the world as it was, mistakes of biblical proportion are being made once again. And I love the comparison to the Bible in this book. And it's in the same way that Cain took Abel's life in Genesis, right? The same way that these 2 humans take a life.
The tree, right?
And the tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Tree, yeah. Just like the, whatever tree of knowledge of good and evil. So it's very, I love that comparison. I love how this new Bible is kind of being written into this new world as the pages are going through. And simple premise, executed to perfection. I love Swan Songs. 3 issues in, I think each issue is perfection.
Chris, I love that you mentioned it. it is not, in fact, my pick of the month this month.
I know.
It is number
I figured.
5 in my top 5, actually. It was such an amazing issue. And here's something. What about more of the profound subtextual nature of what they're saying with the biblical references? Maybe they're saying like the world ended before and it restarted. And this time, like, let's think about the origins of our holy works or the origins of our way of life. Like, we've been doing this for so long. Why?
Right.
Maybe you find out when you find out the true history of everything that we've been doing it the wrong way, right? And it's beautiful artwork from Felipe Andrade, who killed it this month. Killed it.
Yeah.
He's one of the artists of the year, 100%, right?
Absolutely.
Just because of
Yep.
this and another book someone's going to mention, right? I'm certain
Somebody
of
will
it.
mention it.
I wanted to leave that for you.
Oh, well, thank you. Swan Songs continues to be super impressive and profound, just like every work from William Maxwell Prince. And just when I think he's delivering a story of hope, we get to the end of this book and I go, Will, you okay, man? Like, I get what you're saying, but are you okay? Did you read this one, Carrie?
I did. This is one of those ones that I was in the comic book shop and I was like, the guys are gonna mention this. I gotta, you know what, pick this one up and I gotta read it. I gotta read it right away. So I just read it today, and it was like, one, it was really interesting, you know, like the how easy it is for, like, you know how everyone says, not if you're the last man on earth. Well, you know, we find out that people aren't so picky, because she was just like, you know, he's kind of cute, you know, he's okay, you know, he'll do, you know. And I like that they were just trying to figure it out themselves, kind of like they're like, I guess we're Adam and Eve now, you know. And
It's like Adeline and Evan or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
You know, it gave me vibes. Did anybody here read Scout's Honor?
Yes.
No.
yes.
It's a book by our friend David Pepose, and it's the basic premise, Carrie, is that the world ends and it restarts. The survivors restart civilization. It's post-apocalyptic, and there's this group of people that basically, the Boy Scouts guidebook is like their Bible. They have built their society on this, and they keep it all like very rigid and strict. Like, if you don't act this way, you're done and shit like that. So it gives me vibes of that a little bit too, like the building up of that.
Anyone's ever written a story like that with the Girl Scout guidebook, because that would be interesting.
Be the best cookies ever. Like, I mean, this would be like a humanity that had like 100,000 years of developing cookies. I'm just kidding.
They did have a Girl Scout book that came out last year, and it was very crazy.
Was that the witch one?
Yeah, I'll think about it and put it in chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I've thought about writing stuff involving, you know, being just inspired by what I learned as being a Girl Scout all those years ago, just trying to apply that. So that's kind of interesting.
I'm going to give you this idea for free. A book about Girl Scouts fighting a literal cookie monster. You can just run with that one. Do what you will with it. That's a great elevator pitch.
That might be in the, you know what? We might throw that as a little flash fiction.
So you like the book? Did you read Swan Songs 1 and 2?
I have it on a big old stack of TBR. I have a backlog stack. Like,
so you read 3 in and of itself and enjoyed it.
Yeah. Because, well, the thing is like, you guys had kind of like laid it out for me that it was basically Swan Song, meaning the end of things and the end of different things. And it's, you know, it felt like I could just jump in wherever. So that's why I felt comfortable just picking this one up, and it looks like the next one, the previous at the end of the book is the end of a sentence. Yeah. Like the end, and it makes the art that's there makes it look like the end of a prison sentence. So
yeah, and I hope he plays with that. I hope he plays with that grammatically, kind of like the end of the Invisibles. If anybody remembers, the last words we ever hear in Grant Morrison's Invisibles epic is "Our sentence is up." So I hope he kind of plays with that as well as grammatically. Swan Song is a great book, and the only thing by W. Maxwell Prince that I wouldn't say is in this kind of vein, like as far as like you can just pick up any issue and read, is Art Brute, which is only 4 issues so far, but there's more planned. Brian, I know you're a fan. of Prince and W. Maxwell Prince.
Yes, both. Big
So why
fans
don't
of
you
both.
tell me what's your favorite Prince song to listen to while reading Swan Songs number 3?
Oh, man.
Ooh, you didn't ask me that.
It wasn't part of the segue, Carrie. I'm sorry.
It's probably just.
I wasn't expecting him to really answer it, but okay.
Probably like the Pope, or maybe just the Purple Rain. You know.
How about
soundtrack.
Purple Rain from the Super Bowl? Yeah, there we go.
Oh
Yeah.
my God,
Or All Along the Watchtower from the Super Bowl. I think he killed that.
where the gods literally rain down just because, you know what, this will look cool, guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What'd you think about it, Brian?
Man, I freaking loved it. I remember when I think this was on one of those lists at the store, you know, and said various artists, and I asked you about it, and you were telling me who the artists were, and that was all I needed to hear, was that he was doing these individual things, or maybe in an IG post, I can't remember, but I was super excited. Every single issue has been fantastic, you know, and y'all nailed the description there. But yeah, in this one though, I think the art for this one was actually my favorite. I don't know. I think you know, Felipe Andrade has just been killing it. You know, I mean, he's just, you know, and I know I say this a lot, but I feel like I keep seeing him level up too. Like, it's like, this was fantastic, and you just keep doing this. It's like, dang, man.
Oh, and the color work, dude. Oh my goodness, man.
Dude.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
It's insane.
Yeah. I mean, every choice was great.
Hell yeah. Speaking of every choice is great, Manny, every choice you make is great.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, good. I'm glad you said that, because I'm about to be contrarian here. I really love this book. I did. It was my least favorite Swan Songs, but I really did enjoy it. Like, it was. I like that at the end of the world, humanity just does what humanity does again. You know what I mean? I love that. I love that conceptually. The artwork in this was probably my favorite of all of the Swan Songs, far and away. I love there was the coloring more so than the artwork for me. I love that it goes from like all blue to starting to add some reds, to starting to add some browns. Then by the end, we have like this full spectrum of color, right? And so I love that. And again, I just like the secular nature, like Robbie was saying, of humanity. It reminds me of The Good Place, where they just like keep trying to make the main protagonist like do something different, and they all always end up kind of finding each other, and they don't really stray from their character. And I like that's kind of like humanity. We're just so fucking stubborn that no matter what, even if we restart and are given our own paradise, we're still prone to kill each other. Like, there's something very cynical and cool about that.
Yeah.
So I dug it. It was a good book.
If you like The Good Place, you can handle Second Coming. 100%.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah.
Nick, what do you think about Swan Songs?
I'm just going to echo everything everybody said right here. I love the parallels between Genesis and the new Bible, Genesis Part 1, as the first panel is titled. And the very first sentence got me. In the beginning, Adeline emerged from her bunker full of non-perishable cans and field ration MREs. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
this is going to be a hell of a ride. And it was awesome, man. I loved it.
It reminded me of this time earlier this year where I got addicted to watching these like MRE taste test videos on YouTube. We go down strange rabbit holes down here, right? I actually thought about buying some of these things, y'all. Like, I
have frequently thought about that. I think you can get them on Amazon.
I know a guy I can
I've
just
had
send
them.
over to the Arsenal and he can pick them up for me. But I know, man. But my stepdad was in the Navy, so he used to bring them home. And like there was something about that cheese and that peanut butter that I just loved so freaking much.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of smooth like peanut butter, Carrie, what you got? What you got for your pick of the month? I'm sorry. See, Chris, it's just the way the cookie crumbles, man. Like sometimes you get.
That was a lot more pleasant than my. But
and you barely
Carrie
noticed, right?
Carrie deserved it.
Okay, guys. As the perceived feminine energy on this panel, okay, I present to you Wonder Woman #1. Now, I have a slightly prepared statement, okay?
If you pull out some fucking notes, some index cards.
I just tried to do that.
You got a PowerPoint ready? You got.
I thought about doing the PowerPoint. I seriously did, because that's the kind of woman I am, precise. But I'll spare you, okay? As Okay, so like there was a lot of discussion on a recent episode of Rockin Robbie Live involving Wonder Woman, Tom King's first Wonder Woman. To which I jokingly said it would be really funny if it was like my favorite thing ever. And I have to say that I went into it thinking we could go either way, because with me, Tom King, you could go either way. But this book, when he makes the statement, and this is one of the sticking points, I believe, and Robbie can correct me if I'm wrong, that really kind of like irked him about Tom King's Wonder Woman, is that he said that Wonder Woman has not had its Dark Knight Returns yet, and alluded that he wanted to give Wonder Woman her Dark Knight Returns story. And to me, I understand where that can seem pretentious and presumptuous, and could really irk someone the wrong way. However, as a woman who has spent a lot of time since particularly the beginning of 2016, having thing after thing after thing, setback after setback, politically in our government, in our society, just come and say, you know what, fuck you. To have, in particular, a man come up into the biggest female superhero of all time and say, I see you. I think I might understand you. That meant more to me than I think any other book has this year. Because it sucks on this side of the fence right now. You have states eliminating body autonomy. You have people outlawing drag queens and drag shows because they think children are in some kind of danger. You have book bannings. You have all these affronts to liberty. And at this, we have all these things being taken away from us because maybe a person here or there acts out of what they should do. And even then, it's one of those things where it's like you have a situation where not everyone knows the full story. If you've ever been a woman, or anyone for that matter, that has ever been grabbed, groped, assaulted in any way, sexually or otherwise, just because you're existing, this book is for you to say, I see you. And that's why I go into Tom King books searching for the unnecessary words, because they exist a lot of times in Tom King books. But this one, I saw no wasted word, in my humble opinion. And that's what I want to say. And that's why this book is so fucking important. And it could go all downhill from here. We don't know. We don't know what issue 2 holds. We don't know what issue 3 holds or anything. But I know right here, right now, somebody said, I see you. And that means a whole shit ton.
Hey, good luck with that, Robbie. Man.
All right. Yeah, thank you. No, I
Good
really
luck.
respect and understand everything you just said, Carrie.
Yeah,
I get it.
thank you.
Trust me. I understand.
Yep.
My exuberance in the criticism of Tom King on that particular night was just like just to even say, I'm going to make the Dark Knight Returns for Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chang already did that. And I think they
Maybe.
did.
Or
Like,
Dead-
check out Wonder Woman New 52. Like, maybe Dead Earth. Wonder
Dead
Woman
Earth.
Dead Earth might be the first Dark Knight Returns for Wonder Woman. My problem, and this is what I said on that stream when I was actually reviewing the book, and then when I did the weekly comic book review, I obviously wasn't in Rockin Robbie Live mode. Is different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is.
Than doing the review. I like the idea of the story. I like that there's an Amazon who's murdered somebody and it's causing this like anti-Amazon hysteria. I like that that's reflecting things about the real world. Sometimes I do think that reflecting too much stuff that's like of the moment makes a book dated. But at the same time, I love books like The One. I love books like Watchmen. Those books are dated in the politics of their time. Dark Knight Returns. You know what I'm saying? Like the Dark Knight Returns we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm cool with that. And I like that. I like the vibe of it. And I thought that all that was fine. It, to me, is the idea of, I think that he's trying too hard to make it important. And I think that if he had let the art speak for itself, and I don't just mean Daniel's artwork, by the way, the artwork in the book is phenomenal.
It's beautiful. There's some
But
beautiful
if he would
moments.
let the art of the comic book speak more for itself, he doesn't always have to get in the way. And I just think that Tom King at times nowadays steps in his way or in the way of the book itself. I like the message. I like the thematic material. I like the idea of the story, but I wish that it just kind of had a better structure and actually kind of like didn't get in the way of itself. My only criticism with Tom King's Wonder Woman #1 is the execution of the actual scripting. So that's, but I appreciate everything that you said. And the art is fire. Manny, obviously after my Rockin Robbie live tirade, I think everybody read this book. What did you think about this one, Manny?
I did not read this one yet.
Okay.
I'm actually only like 3 DC books in this month, to be perfectly honest with you.
Oh, okay.
Flash, Green Lantern, War Journal. Oh wait, no, I'm 4 because I read Green Lantern and then I read Detective. I haven't read anything else.
All right, then, Nick, we had a little bit of a conversation about this in person because I just had to talk to you about it after I watched Nick at Night. So why don't you tell us what you thought about Wonder Woman #1?
See, this is why I enjoy Carrie's perspective on here, because I'll read a book and I'll have my own opinions about it, and then I'll hear her opinion about it, and it's like I didn't get that at all reading that. Obviously, there's some predatorial stuff, obviously in the beginning, but like I can't relate to that type of thing. So I appreciate your opinions and being honest with us, Carrie, about all that stuff. With that said, I thought it was okay. I walked out with a lot of questions about why we're in this situation. Who is this person? There's this patriarchal person at the end, supposedly that's kind of over everything with the lasso of lies, I think they called it.
Now, we have seen the lasso of lies before, I believe.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but I think here's the problem, though. I think Tom King thinks that's the first time. Like, I think
the way that he presented it.
Tom King wrote it, as far as I know, unless it happened before. In issue 800, the Tom King story.
Oh yeah, that led
Trinity
into
is walking around with 3 lassos. One of them is Lasso Truth, and then one of them is a black lasso, like this one at the end of this book.
I got to call Joe Corallo, who's one of my #1 Wonder Woman experts. He's like read every Wonder Woman comic, and it would really shock me if nobody's ever come up with the lasso of lies.
Yeah,
I swear, I think that's been used before. But I don't know. Maybe he hasn't. I don't know.
It might be legit, like one of these like really old, like, because DC writers in particular have been pulling from Golden Era lately.
Yeah.
It's you have Hop Harrington, you have Tom King again, rebooting the first appearance of the Joker. Yeah, I mean, they've been pulling. So it wouldn't surprise me at all as if we did have a lasso of lies somewhere that I just don't know about.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you thought it was okay, Nick?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I'm gonna need some issues to see where the story goes. I think it's an over exaggeration. It was just so weird because I think my initial thought was, okay, we have one rogue Amazon that's taken out maybe like a dozen people or 10 people. Whatever. Right. So, but the immediate reaction is we have to deport with extreme violence as necessary. You know what I mean? And there's just so many like parallels to like real life events and things like that, obviously scattered throughout this entire book. So it's a sensitive book, and it's going to relate to some people and not to some other people. And it's going to, raised a lot of eyebrows here and there, and I think it's exactly what it's doing. And so I'm going to see, can he actually make this a good story? Can he add some legs to this and really kind of hit all the right marks? So that's what I'm waiting for this one.
What's really interesting about Tom King as well is I don't know how many of you guys know this, but before he was he was a writer, then he wasn't a writer. When he wasn't a writer, he was a counterintelligence agent for the CIA.
Yeah, he never lets us forget about that.
Yeah, he mentions that a lot.
Which I think is impressive. And I think it gives him a special perspective, in particular, to this book.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say this. Another thing I said in my review was, hey, I reread it without any of the narration and enjoyed it.
But the narration, I think, I'm gonna jump in real quick there. I think the narration is key, because the narration isn't necessarily just narration. The narration is somebody unknown speaking to someone else. It's not
it's her
just,
daughter. It's totally her daughter.
I totally think it's Trinity.
Yeah.
Trinity is being spoken to by someone else.
Yeah, that's the other thing that pisses me off about this book. I'm sorry. It's all the behind the scenes shit that pisses me off about this book. Like, I just know that Tom King somewhere is like, we'll put a first appearance in here. That's gonna shake the speculators and boost sales. Well, anyway, Chris, what did you think about this book?
Well, first of all, Robbie, did you read it slowly? That's what I want to know.
Shut the fuck up.
Did you take your time? I just think you don't read it. You don't read slow enough, man. I've been waiting to tell you that for a while.
I'll tell you what, I read Penguin this week first. Maybe I should read Tom King books first.
There you go. But that's actually a good idea. And I love what art does for us and to us, right? Like Nick said, I love Carrie's interpretation of this story and this book. She took something out of it that I did not take out of it, but I really enjoyed it for different reasons. And we've mentioned it. I mean, these 19 guys are murdered inside this small town pool hall. And it's this Amazon, right? The spoiler, there's going to be spoilers here, right? So I'll go ahead and say that now. But you know, this murder leads to the United States of America banning any Amazon from living on U.S. soil, you know, until they can get more, until they can get to the bottom of how these murders are happening, right? And that's at least what they're saying. But I mean, the truth is, right, these Amazons are too dangerous, and they're posing a problem, and they feel threatened by these murders, right? So obviously, Diana is not okay with this, and she wants to know. See, this is where I think people are kind of losing. They're losing, like Diana in the book. She wants to know why one of her Amazon sisters would commit these acts, but she also wants to know what the heck, like why the hell would the U.S. government be so quick to send her and her people away, right? And so she remains on U.S. soil to investigate everything that's happening. Of course, she's approached by Sergeant Steele, who's just a straight up asshole in this issue. And
that might be being a little nice, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is being extremely nice, right? But they have this confrontation. But at the core of it is, you know, Diana, I mean, how many times has Wonder Woman saved the world? How many times has she saved the United States? And you know what's happening right now is a crime to humanity on multiple fronts. The murders, obviously, but also the fact that they're sending away the Amazons just like that. I mean, just that quick. I mean, 19 murders, one person committing the murders, and like, why would you do that? So Diana wants to uncover the truth, right? And that's who Wonder Woman is. She wants to uncover the truth. And that's why this is a good issue to me. It lends itself to the core of who Wonder Woman is. And for people that are Wonder Woman fans, I think there's that to be had. Don't be blinded by, there is a ton of, obviously a lot of political stuff in here. And I'm not saying it's not in there, but don't let that take you away, because you can go in with that perception and not open yourself up to read this comic and to enjoy what's being said about Wonder Woman herself and not just the politics. So for those reasons, I really enjoyed the book. I liked it a lot.
Is it similar to what they did with Aquaman in Rebirth? I mean, I haven't read it, so I'm only hearing what you guys are saying. It sounds very similar.
It is similar to the idea when an Atlantean attack, there was that fake, there was a false flag operation going on, right?
Yeah,
And they like made it look like Atlanteans were attacking Earth, and then like they banned Atlanteans, and it is the same story. But don't worry, it's like Dark Knight Returns, so like it's not like that at all. Okay. Kitty, by the way, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Brian, I saved you
doing that tonight.
What?
Am I the only one doing that for super
Are we
chats
drinking? Oh, I got to go refill. But while I refill, Brian, tell us what you thought about this book, because you had a different opinion than me.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, we already talked about my Danger Street experience. That last issue hurt me pretty bad. Like I put that down. I was like, I can't believe I actually read all that.
You read every word and you regretted it.
You're like, I'll never get that time back.
I did. Well, the gut punch on that was like, I liked the first 6 issues. It was just all of a sudden you slammed me with this one scene comic book with 1,000 words. But no, I'll say overall, I did like Wonder Woman. I did have issues with a lot of the words, but that's just kind of a thing for me with comics. I like if there's a whole lot and I'm not getting out of it what I like, because I do like some narration heavy books like Dan Waters can do that, and Rom V and stuff like that.
I just reread David Boring by Daniel Clowes last night, Brian, and that's a wordy, verbose comic, but like there's something about it that like the way the language is used, like is the difference there for me. I don't know. Yeah.
But overall, I really liked it, and I actually did like the story of it and everything. And so so I appreciate you sharing that, Carrie, because like I do appreciate the antagonist, the way it's set up. It's not just it's the the whole situation with the political situation in the country and all that. I do appreciate that, and yeah, I know that stuff gets dated, but honestly, I mean, that stuff needs to be out there too. At the same time, you can't make everything timeless, right? That's pretty hard to pull off, actually. Yeah. And I will say that Dark Knight thing rubbed me the wrong way, and maybe I misinterpreted it, but because like when I was reading it, I was like, well, he did pull all the TV anchors and a bunch of 9-panel grids with TV anchors talking, and it was like, is that what he meant? Or
those are some of the most unnecessary pages in that whole comic, by the way. It felt like when you get to that, as much as I love Spawn changed my life. It's been great ever since I started being a Spawn fan. But when we get to those, I just skip them now. Like I'm just like, there's like I can't
stand those panels.
Well, I felt like I felt in this one they were repetitive too. Whereas like if the Dark Knight ones weren't, like it was actually, they might be switching from people, but you were following a thread instead of slight minor variations of the same thing, which I think it was kind of trying to replicate our culture now, right? Because in the 80s when that was written, you didn't have the 24-hour news cycle, or that was just getting started, and I think you only had CNN, right? But now you have unlimited 24-hour choices, and I think maybe that was what that was for. But
I think I have to agree. I think that's what that was the intention with that. Yeah.
But
that's been Todd's intention since 1993, and it's always been obnoxious.
but no, I do. While there are some Tom King ones I don't like, he's done so much stellar work, though. It's hard for me to like. I'm always going to try his stuff and stick with it. So I'm looking forward to this because I knew nothing about Omega Men, and that series by him. You talk about good panel work. There's actually that's actually a well-structured comic, and it's like, I mean, he hit that one out of the park. And the characters, I had no idea what anything was about. He
has a lot of stellar work in his career, and that's why I will give every Tom King book a chance, and I will at least give issue 2 a chance if I don't like it. I had a comment today or yesterday on my weekly review that said, well, why would you read issue 2 if you didn't like issue 1? What are you talking about? Get out of here. Like, of course, well, first of all, I don't have to buy these things. I get to just read them and put them back on the shelf. So like, there's that. So I understand if you're buying these things, but for me, part of my job is to read these books, and only when I'm just like completely out of it do I drop a book, right? So I'll stick with the Tom King book for a long time.
I will not tell you how much money I dropped on comics just today. So
Okay. All right, Brian. It's time for your pick of the month, bro. What you got? And so far, only one book on my list has even been mentioned.
Okay. I want to go with one I had been waiting for a long
That's
time
one
and
of the
delivered.
four. That's one of the four.
When I saw that Raphael Grompa was writing and drawing his own Batman story, I just flipped out. So much so that I got a couple of the other covers, but because I had to get the black and white one.
Yeah, I did too.
So good.
Do you get the same ones as me? But you got the one, right? The other one.
Yeah. Well, I got the Frank Miller one. I should take these out of the bag.
Colored by Jock, by the way, not inked. Colored by Jock.
Yeah. So I don't know, fabulous. And then I did. Yeah. I'm not the biggest Jim Lee fan, but I do think his splashes are pretty awesome. So I got the black and white version of that because I don't know the details on there, but you can actually see the whiteout and stuff like that.
It's like an artist edition almost, right? It's so
nice.
We were pouring over it, man. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. But the and to me it's like
look at Stu down there.
Nice. Sometimes
good work.
Good
work, Stu.
We're all
so
here.
Sometimes I get too excited about these things, right? And I read them and I'm like, no, not with this one, man. It was like, I want to go back and reread it because I did my usual thing with like heavy artwork where I just get too transfixed with the art. Like I don't have the story firmly fixed in my mind at all. I think I have a rough idea of what the point is and all that other stuff, but the art was just like, I mean, I can't remember how long it took me to read this one issue, but it was way longer than a normal issue. I was just staring at so many things. Like his use of white.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Words are hard for me on this one, but like, because one of the really prevalent ones is when he was punching out in that 1-2-page spread, and it was just like the fist was just highlighted for you and all that stuff. And the way he uses white in the costume design, I don't know if you saw that, like all those ridges and stuff, he was adding white in all these places, and you don't ever see that on a bat suit. And it's the coolest looking bat suit I think I've seen since like year 100, maybe. I mean, it like, and there's a whole lot of bat suits.
It's very Paul Pope. Speaking of year 100, right? It's got very quaint Frank Whiteley. I'm picking up Nick Darrington vibes from it as well, and it's an evolution in the style of Raphael's work, because if you look at the Golden Child, which I think is brilliant, this is a step up, and it's taking those influences and making something of its own. And aside from that, what a solid detective story. Just a great, solid, perennial detective story. A young Bruce Wayne who's toying with the idea of killing off Bruce Wayne so that he can like just be Batman full time. And then you got this cool villain going on that's like got a really neat aesthetic. And you mentioned the use of white, the use of black as well, and the use of both of them, the polarity of it, right? The dichotomy of the artwork. I remember reading this one right at FOC. I got a digital copy. I read it. I came on Rockin Robbie Live and just like ranted and raved about this book. I was like, do not miss this book. This is one of the best books of the year. And holy freaking cow, did it deliver for me, Brian.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And to know that we get 3 more, right? I mean, like, I hope they're on time. Yeah.
I hope they're on time. Yeah. I don't buy multiple covers. I triple dipped on this motherfucker. So like, and the lettering. Oh my goodness, the lettering is so freaking awesome.
Good.
The black and white one is totally worth it. I also got the Miller cover with Jock doing the coloring. And can we get those 2 on a book, please? That would be amazing. That would be so good. Manny, what'd you think about Gargoyle of Gotham? And if you didn't read it, get the guy.
No, I did read this one. I forgot to mention.
And continue on the panel, please, for a moment.
I liked it. That the artwork was phenomenal. I love there's the way that the panels are all structured. I mean, most of them are like these long horizontal panels, but he keeps shifting like drastically from like eyes to pockets to like a totally different scene altogether. Like it throws you off as you're reading it, and because the artwork is so detailed, you're off kilter, and you're also being drawn in. And it could have been jarring. It could have been really disorienting. but like it's intentional and it feels intentional. So as you're going through, like there's a panel where it's right after the Jim Gordon stuff where he's at home. He's like, he's walking down the street and the police line is like the perspective that's used in that as it's getting bigger and smaller, drawing your eye. And it's like everything in here has intention. So just like Brian, that it did take me out of reading it because now I'm looking at it. Like I'm not even focused on what's happening. There's cool action scenes. There's lots of I love the black and white monochromatic villain. Like there's a lot of really cool stuff happening. And like Robbie said, a cool detective story, but it's the art that's capturing it and really holding you captive. And I love it. I absolutely loved it. I loved this the way Nick Comic Culture loves jalapeno poppers covered in mayonnaise. I don't know why he does that, but that's what he does.
Mayonnaise.
So Nick, what did you think of the Gargoyle?
Mayonnaise. There's one panel in here where Batman finally comes up to this, whatever this villain is. He's watching that old timey cartoon, right? And there's a moment where he turns the projector on, and the actual cartoon is being displayed on his cape as he's trying to cover his eyes. That was incredible. We're talking about the art, but like that blew me away right there. Just like the creativity of that itself. I will echo everything you guys said. The art itself completely took my main attention from this book. I picked up that there was a cool detective story going on. This was a relatively newer Batman. There's a lot of cool dialogue between him and Alfred on how to enhance things, or is that ready? Is this prototype ready? Whatever it might be. So this is like a year 2, 3, whatever it might be, Batman, in my opinion. The costume was insane. I love how kind of like run of the mill it looks. There's obviously some enhancements, but he's wearing just like chaps, and like maybe some body armor or stuff. It's a really simple costume, but I just love the cowl. It was just so cool. Amazing style, cool detective story. Couldn't care about the villain that much. We got to figure out more about that person though. But yeah, great pick. I loved it.
Swamp Bat out there says art has some European comics vibes. Well, he's European, right? So it should, like 100%. Is he Spanish?
I thought so.
Okay. I didn't know for sure if he was Spanish or Italian, or I don't know, but I know that Frank Miller's a huge fan of him, man. And he definitely brings some of those Frank Miller vibes, especially with the Golden Knight or the Golden Child. My bad. If you've never read Dark Knight Returns, The Golden Child, it's a great one-shot set kind of like in the nearest future of the Dark Knight Returns universe. And it even wasn't trying to be the next Dark Knight Returns. Chris, what did you think about this one?
Best Batman book 2023, I think. I'm thinking so far, just one issue in, I'm thinking this is going to be the best Bat book that we get this year. And I have on my notes right here, reminiscent of Frank Miller Batman in tone. And Batman doesn't feel, totally inexperienced, but you can tell he's still grappling with how to figure out how to use some of his tools. And Batman, he's investigating this string of murders, this serial killer, which is this villain who's obsessed with this old cartoon, and he's kind of dedicated his killing spree to this old cartoon. But the most compelling part of this story, and the part that has me intrigued as far as the story itself, and it's been mentioned, right, is the decision for Batman to eliminate Bruce Wayne, right? So, I mean, Bruce has always been the real mask, if you think about it, right? He's the billionaire playboy. He's got the public figure that for Wayne Enterprises. But if you really think about how convicted Batman is on his mission, on his crusade, right? It makes sense, right? He wants to fully commit his life to being Batman, and it makes sense that he'd want to get rid of Bruce Wayne, but it's never actually happened where he's, I feel like I've spoiled a lot tonight.
Well, I will say this real quick. Greg Rucka and Ed Brubaker did a really underappreciated run of Detective and Batman from like the late 90s, right after No Man's Land. And they culminated in the whole Batman, Bruce Wayne murderer, Batman fugitive run, where Bruce Wayne got arrested for murder. He was framed. He didn't actually do it, y'all. Spoilers. Damn, I did the spoiler afterwards, Chris. You're rubbing off on me. So, but what happens is he's in jail and he goes, you know what? Fuck this. He breaks out of jail and he tells Alfred, fuck Bruce Wayne. I'm just going to be Batman now. Like, who gives a shit? So, like, they've done that a little bit before, but in a different way. Right.
I was
And
wondering
this one, yeah. I had never what the extent that he wants to go to with this, right? So this is, he wants to fully commit to being Batman. And like I said, that makes sense. That makes sense for who Batman is. And I love that.
Grandpa, by the way, is not European at all. He's Brazilian. Thank you, Brian.
I was way off. My apologies. I just thought his art was very European, like the previous comment.
The style lends to that. Yeah,
for sure.
It is very European, 100%.
I love the bits with Alfred and Bruce where Alfred is totally against the idea of, what Batman wants to do. And just throughout the book, he just peppers him throughout the book with the fact that he should not do this. Right. I love those bits. It feels very true to the character. Very strong first issue all the way around. I mean, you guys talked about the art extensively. I have gone back after I love the story. I've gone back just to open up the book, just to flip through the art and just to stare at it and just to look. I mean, it's so pretty, man. It's so pretty. And like I said, best Batman comic of 2023, maybe, right? Maybe. So I loved it.
Yeah.
In Brian's defense, in Brazil they speak Portuguese. Portuguese is part of Europe. I'm giving it to him.
The entire Western Hemisphere has that European influence, right? Right. I mean, that's just the way it is. Carrie, what did you think about Gargoyle of Gotham?
First off, if Frank Miller does a cover and I'm already buying the book, I'm getting the Frank Miller cover. All right, because legend, and it's always kind of cool. And I love that he's kind of playing with his style right now and doing different stuff. So, I love this book, and I have to say that you read it twice, once for words and pictures, and once for just the pictures, because it's compelling either way. What I really loved is, and I have an unpopular viewpoint, that one of my favorite Batman, like live action Batman, is the Robert Pattinson Batman. And when I look at this, and
I thought you were about to say George Clooney.
Me too.
No.
I was like, please don't say George Clooney.
It wasn't a big of a hot take as I think you think it was.
I absolutely love our path is his Batman, his Bruce Wayne, in particular because it is still kind of like this, a younger Batman, a younger Bruce Wayne. And you get the idea from that movie that he doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne. He's got that eye on the prize Batman thing going on, just like he does in this book. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if they threw something in the next Batman, Matt Reeves Batman, and he wants to not be Bruce Wayne. The car also reminded me of Matt Reeves Batman, which I love the Reeves Batmobile. I love it. That it's kind of like this hybrid monster of different muscle cars, and I love it. And that reminded me, the Batmobile in this reminded me of that. So I'm already getting like really warm vibes, just from warm fuzzies from, the comparisons that I can draw between this version of Bruce Wayne Batman and my favorite in live action, which is really cool.
I wish they would have done this for Robert. Like this would have been way more compelling and engaging for me than the story they went with. Like that, like this is perfect for a Robert Pattinson movie. Like
I think he's absolutely fabulous, and I will die on that. I will die on that mountain. I will stand there with Harley Quinn mallet, bashing anyone that comes at me saying our Pat sucks, because I loved it, and this made me think of it.
Hell yeah,
for sure.
I like that. It made me think of it too, and it made me think of all the hopes and dreams I had for that movie before I actually watched it. All right, no offense to you, Carrie, or to you out there, Clayton. I love both of y'all so much. All right, Batman: Gargoyle of Gotham, one of the best Batman books of the year, may be the best. And honestly, it might be. As much as I love what Rom's building, Like we got to see where that's going to end up, right? But we may talk about the book. All right, time for my pick of the month. Nobody's picked it. My pick of the month is from Tom Scioli. It's I Am Stan.
Oh, geez.
It's a graphic novel, hardcover or softcover, available now. It is selling out, y'all. So if you want to get this, get it. All right. So it's a biography of Stan Lee. Tom Scioli, fantastic artist, part of the kayfabe family, right? Has his own channel, Total Recall Show. I love that show as well. It is amazing. They do deep dives into like old school movies and TV as well as comics. He has a new thing that I've been binging, New Gods Sunday School, where he goes through each issue of Jack Kirby's New Gods Fourth World Saga. Absolutely fantastic. He has Thor Thursday. Anyway, he did a graphic novel biography already on Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and it was great. And it was told in the grid structure that Kirby used and the narration structure that Kirby used. And this is about Stan Lee. Now, if you know Tom Scioli, he's like me. He's like a lot of us who know the story of what happened with Stan and Jack in the history of Marvel and everything like that. And a lot of us, because of the credit that Stan gets and how long it took for Jack to get a semblance of credit, right? And a lot of us have certain opinions about Stan Lee. Tom Scioli's being one of them. And I'm going to tell you this. This book does not come across as one-sided. It does not come across as biased against Stan Lee at all. It actually comes across sympathetic to Stan's decisions, as wrong as they may have been in hindsight. It comes across as very sympathetic to his situation at that time, why he made certain decisions. It also explores a very complex man who had a very important life, and this dude literally changed comics, right? And this is the full story in a very brief kind of way. Every page, ultra widescreen panels, because Stan Lee wanted to make movies. He wanted life to be cinematic. He was about the dialogue, so it's very dialogue heavy, right? So it's in Stan's kind of style, but it actually never feels bogged down because each page is a singular scene. You could almost, I feel like you could read any page in any order and get the whole story by the end of it. And it all works so freaking well. It's beautiful. It's brutally honest. It's tragic. It's sad. It's nuanced. This book is absolutely a literary classic. There's the page where he's deciding to wear a wig or a toupee for the first time, which, and if you didn't know, he did. So I'm sorry, but you get the whole story here. Who else read this? I know Nick read it. I know Brian read it. Manny, did you read it?
I can't find it anywhere. So if you got copies over at the Deep Comics and Games
you know I got copies, brother.
Alabama, you should send me one.
So I just got my second shipment in, bro. Yeah.
You know, and you should send me the Jack Kirby one too if you have any copies.
I got soft cover copies of that. The hard covers are out of print. Yeah.
I will take it. I will take anything from Rockin Robbie, soft, hard, or otherwise. I'm like Chris. I don't care.
Chris, did you read this one?
I did not, man. And I've heard you talk about it twice now, and I need it, man. I love these type of stories.
Yeah.
I love the exploration, the history, man.
Have you read the Jack Kirby one?
I have not.
After reading this, the next night I reread the Jack Kirby one. That powerful.
Nice.
Both of them,
man,
powerful. Like two people that changed comics. Actually, that made comics almost in a way. Like made American comics. Stan Lee, Jack Kirby. Holy shit. Get the full story. Get the real story. And he cites everything. And yeah, when you see Stan Lee whipping his employees with the fucking cat of nine tails, that shit happened. Shit happened. Carrie, speaking of whipping people with the cat of nine tails, did you read this one?
No, I haven't.
All right.
No,
Nick,
I haven't.
what did you think about I Am Stan? We talked about it a little bit in Memphis.
Yeah, it's a very informative book for sure. There's a lot of moments in here where you feel sympathetic towards him, and especially towards the end of the book when you see like the degeneration of his mental state, of the vultures appearing out of nowhere and just trying to take advantage of every situation they can. It's an interesting story because it shows him from before he was in the comics, getting into it, being a coffee guy, you know, running the coffee, stuff like that, to being like editors and stuff, and then like managing the bullpens and like throwing ideas around with different creators. So it's a cool evolution from start to finish, involving his wife and his daughters and his handlers and things like that, the different people he came in and out of relationships with. You know,
All
they're
the people he worked with, right? Yeah.
people he worked with in the beginning that they got along great. Hey, I need you to cover for this guy. He's no good, and things like that. And they leave his life and they come back. It's all this drama, and it was just beautifully done. It is very much in what I would assume is in his voice, in Stan's voice. So the perspective is really cool. It was really eye-opening to kind of see it, because you can see how creative conversations in that type of environment could get kind of sticky. You know, the entire job of some of those guys were to just sit around and talk about, we need a Justice League for Marvel.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so what are we going to do? So they start throwing around ideas and stuff like that. And if you have a big enough, perhaps, ego that has been cultivated and promoted, and maybe you have some egotistical traits to begin with, you can see how that would change over time. Like that narrative would change over time to where it ended up. And so my takeaway from it was, I can totally see, given the position that he was in, the experiences he had, and maybe the personality that he had cultivated over time, I can see how a lot of drama would come from that, through all the different relationships that he established.
There's a book, Nick, I'll recommend you, and your shop should be able to order it, but it's from Tomorrow Publishing. It's called Stuff Said. And it's just quotes from Stan, quotes from Jack in chronological order. And you see the story change on all sides.
I'm sure.
Right? And it's really cool. One of my favorite panels or pages is this right there. And it's a 9-panel grid of Stan aging throughout the years. And he's telling the official story of Stan Lee. And as the years progress, each part is like the next level of the fabrication, if that makes sense. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah. It was something else. But I mean, to summarize it real quick, it's like 200 anecdotes, one on each page. And it's like just summarized just enough to get the idea. And it's in chronological order. And he did a hell of a job putting all that together into one book. So I loved it.
Yeah. Very well researched as well. And all the annotations are there. Speaking of all the annotations are there, Brian's an annotator for a living. No, he's not. Brian, what'd you think about I Am Stan?
I liked it a lot. Yeah. The thing is, I read that one a couple days after I bought it. I actually still haven't read the Jack Kirby one. I need to actually read that one. But yeah, you all said a lot of great things about it. That whole Stan, Jack, and then Steve Ditko, and all that stuff. It's kind of, I vacillated a little bit on that, but because there's multiple stories of that. I mean, I don't know. I heard recently, I think it was Mark Millar saying this, that like, when people say like, that's the way it's always been, is that companies are always taking advantage of creators and everything. Well, that actually happened because Edgar Rice Burroughs, the guy that created Tarzan, he had the rights for that the whole time, and he got so rich he bought a section of LA. It's called Tarzana now. And, these publishing companies are like, nah, we can get all that, I mean, they pretty much put the brakes on people owning their rights and everything like that. But then you look at the other flip side, it's like, they're giving these people amount of money to throw something out there. They don't know what's going to stick. Nobody knew that Superman would become, our part of our modern mythology. I mean, like, nobody saw that. But that being said, though, like, as things get bigger and everything, you can go back, and reward the people that got you there, and acknowledge their accomplishments. I think where it broke me for Stan was that interview one, that phone interview one, where Jack was being interviewed by somebody and Stan crashed it. Yeah,
and it was his birthday. It was Jack Kirby's birthday.
Yeah, to jump all over it, and Jack Kirby's like, you can clearly tell he's one of the nicest people in the world. He doesn't want to get in a fight on the radio. You know what I mean? It's like, and Stan's just being Stan, always up here and everything like that. Like that's where I kind of was like, nah, but reading that last section of it, that last part of his life, I felt bad. I mean, that's some rough stuff, and everything. But I did want to mention, Tom Scioli, like, he's brilliant, man. And his love of comics comes through every piece of work he's done. That Godland, that one is just,
I still haven't read that, man.
It's just it's one of there's a lot of love letters to Kirby out there, like Cosmic Detective, and I like all of them. that one, man, that one's in the language of Jack Kirby's 70s stuff too. But yeah, the love that he has for this stuff is just, it shines through these things, you know, and that's one thing I like about it, because like, I feel like, I think Nick, you were saying that it's like from Stan's perspective, and it's so like, that's what I thought too. And I was like, man, he's so into this. He's able to capture that and then put that out, you know, it's like that. I really appreciate it. It's great. Any comic fan, any superhero comic fan should read this.
Yeah,
Just
I 100% agree there. Yeah, it is a very important book. One of the best books of the month, one of the best books of the year, in my opinion. And Tom Scioli also responsible for the best interpretation of GoBots we've ever gotten. So right now, those rights are up in the air. I guess Kirkman's got them. I don't think he's going to do anything with them. But get a hold of the GoBots by Tom Scioli if you can. 4 issues, golden GoBots. All right. Those are the best books of the month, in our opinion. I'm very surprised that in round 1, we didn't get a certain Rom V book in. However, it's time for round 2, a slightly more truncated version where we'll be a little bit more streamlined. And because we don't have to go for 20 minutes about Gargoyle of Gotham and then 20 minutes about Wonder Woman. You know what I'm saying? But the time was spent that was necessary. And right now it's time for your next pick of the month. Manny, what you got?
And I didn't even get to go on my real deep dive about how the villain in Gargoyle of Gotham is like obsessed with this cartoon from his childhood. He's being hyper violent, and Superman or Batman's obsessed with Zorro, and that's influencing him now that they're just this dark mirror of each. I didn't even go into all of that.
Focus, Manny,
because I had to save up for something epic. Something epic has not made pick of the month. It's been in rapid fire, but it hasn't been like brought up in a couple of months, and for good reason. It got weird, right? It became a video game thing. But I got it now after the second parlay into adult Danny. I got it. The first section, which I thought was just catharsis about a dead mother. No, it's about the death of the sacred feminine, and that was a godlike figure in his life that passed. Now, in this new section, he's looking for things that have very, very strong religious connotations. Things like the sword of the spirit, the shield of faith. This is very much Simon's. This is this guy trying to work out faith. He's become this messianic figure. He's moving on. There's this scene where these like half-finished doodles come. They're like, I never got an eye. And you get this real strong messianic vibe, but also you get the idea that there is almost a deist idea here, that the creator has just moved on. The creator has just moved on, and he doesn't care about the fact that these doodles are. He's not even the first epic. Dan is one of many to use a philosophical touch point that Robbie uses a lot. He's just another sun god. He's come into this world, into this island of nightmares and dreams, and you know what? He's just another false prophet in this land. And there's also some really cool stuff happening with the character of Alter, where like you get this idea that there's this kind of cyclical nature of this messianic figure. In Alter, in my opinion, it's obvious is Dan. It's Dan from another point. He keeps leading this messianic figure to the island, and it never fucking works. Every time he brings an epic in, shit hits the fan. It just goes again. That's why he says you're never going to see me again. This version of Alter, this is where his story stops. Dan has to now become Alter. Like there's some really, really cool, deep shit happening in this book. And so while I was completely saddened by what seemed like a complete 180 heel turn in issue whatever was before this one brought it back for me, and I am so happy that I read this issue, and I loved it so much.
Did I skip you on Gargoyle of Gotham or something?
No, you didn't skip me.
Oh, okay.
I was waiting because I was like, dude, I
felt so bad. I thought I had skipped you, man. I felt like an asshole.
No, don't feel like an asshole, Robbie. Don't feel like
listen to anything you said.
That's when you went AFK.
I was like, I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? We're at like 47 minutes. I'm not gonna do the Manuel thing where I just like wax philosophical because
who cares?
Molly, because of Molly and LSD exists. Like there's all these these things that color my opinions of books. But anyway, my point is something epic fucking epic. I hope you guys picked it up.
I love all of the ideas of something epic. I love the artwork in something epic. There's just something lost in translation. And I mean that because there's a translator for the script, right? Yep. There is something, it's just too fucking verbose. And maybe it's the fault of the English language, right? But I really think that we need some editing down of that text. That book could be very profound. And I really appreciate that book. And I like what it's developing. It just is just a slog sometimes to read. And I would rather experience it. And I think that book needs to be experienced and not talked at. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah.
Something epic.
No, I agree. I loved the first couple of issues because it was very straightforward. It was very much about this kid who somehow maintained his imagination, and that imagination kind of ran wild around him. And he had to learn, kind of like the little boy from Sixth Sense. There's ghosts around me. I'm the only one that can see this crap. I have to learn to deal with this. And eventually we interact with each other, stuff like that. Spoiler for Sixth Sense. That movie's been around for 15 years or 20 years or whatever. But I think the first couple of issues were very straightforward, but the last 2 or 3 have been like, holy shit, what is happening? I can't put my hands around exactly what's happening. And when Manny, you were breaking down like how you interpret it. And I'm like, yeah, I could totally see that. I could totally see that happening, but it's just like, oh my God, I didn't come to that conclusion naturally. And so I'm like, something happened between issue like 2 and 3, something like that, where the story went in this whole other direction. And I'm like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to get out of this, but I've been loving it the whole time. It's always like in my, better half of the books of that week, but I'm like, man, it's just such a big difference between issue like 1 and 2 and 4 and 5.
Sixth Sense came out 24 years ago, Nick. So congratulations. We're old. We're old. Yeah. 24.
Saw the theater.
Yeah, me too, bro. I worked at the theater when it fucking came out. I was a teenager drinking alcohol. Come on, man. God. Speaking of being a teenager drinking alcohol, Chris, what'd you think about something epic? Did you read that one?
I am reading it. I am very much enjoying it. Talk about having to take your time when you read. This comic, you got to get yourself in that Tom King mindset when you go into this comic.
Dude, Tom King looks at this book and goes, "Whoa, bro, you need an editor."
I'm okay. Yeah,
like that's a bit much.
Yeah.
You need an editor.
Because sometimes it's all in one word balloon, man. It's only one word balloon. It's like, like, come on.
I really loved Manny's explanation because there's definitely things that I'm missing. And hearing you talk about it that way, Manny, it's eye-opening, and it is something that I do want to reread. I know it would take a very long time when it comes out in trade, but I do want to go back and reread it because there's something extremely magical about the entire series. And for me, the parts that I've really enjoyed, I keep saying this, but for anybody that has ever, dreamed, imagined, created something from words and images in your mind, you will appreciate those aspects of this series. I mean, it feels like a love letter to that childlike creativity that we lose when we get older, right? And I love Zyman's art, and I love what he's playing with in the book. I reiterate the dialogue. I say it every time I talk about this book as well. You got to go in with that mindset, and I feel like reading it in a nice big trade at the end is going to pay dividends. It's just so wordy, and I feel like you have to go on a journey with this book. But I do like it a lot. Yeah.
One thing to point out is it is different to read a book on its own, right? A single issue, and it's different to read a book as a graphic novel on its own, maybe in one sitting or over a couple of sittings or a few, than in the middle of a big stack of comics, right? And that's usually when we're doing the weekly reviews. That's the vibe that we're giving, right? But that's why it's also important for us to like go back and reappreciate things and then talk about it after the fact, right? Carrie, you're reading something epic?
This is the first couple issues are sitting in my my backlog, but I really think it's interesting to hear Manny and other people talk about it and look at the cover that he has up right there. Which is there's been a lot of homage covers.
I wish they would have got Todd to do that. That would have been so cool.
Yeah.
And this one in particular, I I know that we've got some people in their 40s here in the panel. I'm going to be 42 on Sunday. So I think a lot of us remember the album Follow the Leader by Korn.
Oh yeah,
I in fact owned
high
it,
school. Yeah.
played it on repeat. I was a senior in high school when that came out, I believe.
Yeah, and then right after that, Sixth Sense came out.
Yeah. Right?
What did you say at first? Like 12 years ago?
12, 20, 30 years ago.
Y'all, we're talking. I was a senior in high school in 1999. I graduated in 1999.
Me too, Carrie. Class of 99. Oh my goodness. We're the faculty, y'all. That's what we are, man.
Exactly.
Buffy graduated in 99. That's all I'm saying. Yo, the best. The best.
If you think about everything that everybody's been talking about involving this book, and then you think about all the music, in particular in Follow the Leader, in particular the video for that image comes from. Oh, yeah. Yes, there used to be music videos on MTV, y'all. It's very fitting that they use that imagery.
What I think is really fitting is this is next month's film homage, because there's always a film and a music.
Oh, come on.
That is next month's.
What is that? Stir of Echoes? What is that?
That is the Sixth Sense.
That's six.
Oh yeah, Sixth Sense. There you go, bro. Dude, Zyman was listening like ahead of time. Oh my goodness, this book is rather profound. Brian, speaking of profound, oh, you got a good one. Yep. Look at that. You got like the best segue. You're very profound, Brian. Profound Brianiac. Why don't you tell us what you think of Something Epic? Are you reading it?
I'm not. I want to now, though, based on what everybody's talking about. This sounds like it's right up my alley. Until you mentioned Korn, I didn't realize that's what that was. I'm a little older than y'all, I think. Korn's, Korn's a
little after your time, bro.
Yeah, a little bit.
There's something for everyone. There was a Hook homage this month. A couple months back, there was a Eminem homage. A little something for everyone.
Yeah, he's killing it on the variants.
He understands his audience and the age of all of us, I guess.
Like, dude, people around 40 are gonna love this.
Because it's so weird what happens. Because like at 42, I'm like, you know what? I don't mind Hook. 20 years ago, I was like, Hook fucking sucks. Spielberg needs to apologize for that movie.
Wow.
First,
now I'm like, we should do Hook for a PCP movie night. It's better than Page Master, Manny.
Yeah, how you gonna talk shit about Hook when earlier in the show you referenced like the loosest Matrix adaptation I've ever read with that Invisibles thing? You're like, it ends with this line, and I'm like, no, it ends with this. I'm going to show you a new way, and then he flies off from a fucking telephone.
Why don't you fuck off? I know what you're doing, Manny. I know what you're doing. All right. What the fuck were we talking about? Something Epic. That was Manny's pick. Nick, what's your next pick?
Well, I mean, I gotta bring the book up. I was hoping that somebody else would take this because it's kind of a tall order, but we're gonna get into it anyways. We're talking about Ron V's and Felipe Andrade's Rare Flavors. Right. Issue number 1. I cannot believe
Everyone
it made it to the second.
Copies.
That it came around the second round, and I'm sure we all have a lot to say about it. So I'll keep my.
Foil.
I got.
Okay, you got the foil too.
Nice. Rom, if you're watching, by the way, I don't like the foil cup. If they did a foil of the Andrade art, I would have been on board. But Rom, if you're watching, do not be offended that you're in round 2. But I Am Stan came out, man. Okay. I Am Stan came out. That's one of my 4, by the way.
it up except for I had to bring up Wonder Woman. Y'all were expecting that.
It was
I
on
had
print.
to. Yeah.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, Rom. I love you. It was in my rapid fire, but
I'm nervous to bring it up.
It was coming up for me.
Oh,
I would lose all ability to talk in front of Rom V, believe me. So
yeah.
All right, Nick, I'm sorry. Go ahead. We all had to apologize to Rom for a second. We don't want him to hate us.
Friend of the show.
Rom, your Catwoman was fantabulous.
It was good. It gave me a reason to read Catwoman. This book was great. It's very rare that I pick up my stack of books and I read a book and then I have to reread it again because I just enjoyed.
Very rare.
Rare.
Oh,
I see what you did there.
What does that say about your taste?
Rare.
My flavor, my cuisine. I like a very particular cuisine. I have to vet my cuisine. I like a lot of.
We talked about it. Jalapeno poppers covered in mayonnaise. We talked about it.
This book, what I man, where do I even start with this damn thing? So, first off, we'll go over the art real quick. We talked about Felipe Andrade's work on Swan Songs earlier. He's kind of reminds me of he's just an artist that you can read one book and then you can read another one, and it's completely different art styles. First off, like you wouldn't even know except for some of the facial features and things like that. Like he has some common threads between books, but Andrade's art in this is incredible. And the first time I think I remembered art like this was back in Layla Starr. And so Layla Starr was just absolutely gorgeous, from the character design to like the Indian culture, the sceneries, things like that. The action scenes were insane. And so like I really appreciated that in here. This book is a little bit different. It's a lot slower, but there's a lot of like devilishness in here because of the story that Ron V is actually going over. And the way I can interpret this is it's kind of opens up in like a David and Goliath kind of a situation. We have this this connoisseur sitting here kind of recounting this battle, right? And it's almost like this demon or something like that is kind of reincarnated into this human form. And there's a particular style, a taste, I don't know, a flavor that this demon is actually trying to consume into his life. And what's really cool is like throughout this entire book, he's talking about like how passion and how things that drive people is like another flavor that he wants to appreciate, he wants to consume. And it's not always about like ingredients and food, but he's also attracted to people that are just very natural, very charismatic, really talented in their areas. And so he finds a really cool way of like weaving in food and culture and people's personalities and their talents and things like that. And this one person that we feature in this book is attracted to all that kind of stuff. And we get some, I don't want to spoil the ending at all. We've done a little bit of spoilers so far, but like, I'll try to keep this as spoiler free as possible. We see how far he takes that passion of his to find people like that. And the ending of this book is rather shocking because of it. And so like from an art, it was like a perfect marriage of art and story. It blew me away. I read it twice the first day I got it. And I just love this book. It was incredible.
I don't want to spoil the ending of the book. And I think the ending of the book is really what hooks you, right?
Yes.
And I feel like, because I described the book and I was like, it's about this dude who like is a demon or a mythological figure from Indian Hindu mythology. He's a human. He's been existing as a human. He loves the human experience. He loves flavor. He loves taste. He loves all this kind of stuff. He loves culture, right? He's got a little coffee shop. Anthony Bourdain dies. He is inspired. I can do that, right? But it goes to a certain level beyond that. That is so true. It's a spiritual successor, right? To Many Deaths of Layla Starr, where we get death as a human. Now we're getting this god of consummation, almost, right? This demon, actually, of gluttony in human form. And when you get to the end of the book, you understand where we're going. The artwork is amazing. The themes are right there. And Rom is such a cool dude because he likes to innovate in comics. And he's always thinking, what can I do that's different when he does his creator-owned stuff, right? Fuck, even when he's doing Batman, what can I do that's different? How about I take the structure of a tragic romantic opera and make that Batman, right? Like, fuck, can I do it? And that's what he's doing. And it's absolutely amazing. In this one, I really feel like Ron V's like, how can I make a cookbook very exciting as a comic? Because you do get that recipe for tea. And I guarantee you, there's a recipe in every issue, and it relates to the meal that our protagonist wants to consume by the end of it, if that makes sense. I love it. One of my favorite books of the month, in my top 4 for sure. Number 3, actually. Not one of my top 2. I told y'all nobody was going to pick it, man. It's great. Chris, Rare Flavors, what'd you think?
I loved it. I loved it. I love this creative team. And as much as I enjoy Rom on superhero stuff, I think he really shines in his indie work. Obviously, you know, Layla Starr, right? Many Deaths of Layla Starr. You got Blue and Green, which is another one of my favorite comics from Rom. And this one is the exploration of flavors, right? It's so beautiful. And it's about this. And the preview says this, so I'm not spoiling anything. But if you look at the preview, this thing that is possessing Ruben, the main character. It's called a Rakshusa, right? And that's a I'm not going to tell you the exact definition because it kind of will spoil it, but it's a mythical fanged demon that eats a particular thing. Okay, and that's what you need to know.
Fuck it. It's humans. It's humans. It's people.
There you go. That's the
We had good old fashioned cannibalism going on
they
here.
eats human flesh. And that's what you need to know about this book, and it's everything that Nick and Robbie just said. And Ruben is currently possessed by this Rakshusa, and wants to create this documentary of his tour of the best cuisine in all of India. I love that it captures that culture, the flavors of where it is. And he needs a good filmmaker to make this documentary, and his choice of the filmmaker is also very interesting. He goes to this guy that is kind of given up on filmmaking. He kind of wants to put it behind him, and Ruben convinces this guy to take on the project. And I think that the filmmaker himself and Ruben, I think that's going to be a really fun exploration there. But there's a ton of things to love about this. I said it already at the beginning, but just Ram's indie work, man, that's for me, that's where he really, really shines. And I am not as in love with Detective Comics as most people, but man, when Ram writes a indie book, man, it's at the top, 5-star, the best cuisine possible.
Well, Chris, have you thought about reading Detective Comics more slowly?
I have.
With more intention? With more actual thought? I don't know. Carrie, what do you think about Rare Flavors?
This is wow. This is really good. I read the Ashcan I think like a month ago, and then I picked this up and I finally read it today. And it was just I read the Ashcan and then I read this, which is basically the Ashcan plus more. All right. And I finally caught on that it's the demon is standing in front of a portrait of himself getting beaten. And he's talking about it and he's just like, yeah, well, you know what? It doesn't really hurt me anymore. I so much time has passed. And I was like, oh shit, that's yeah. I don't know what was keeping that from clicking the first time, but yeah, when it clicked the second time, that was pretty cool. I don't know anything about Indian mythology, but I'm sure as hell gonna learn. Because this is really cool. Did anyone notice the Cafe Star sign that was in the book that I thought might have been a nod to Layla Star?
It caught my eye. Yep.
I think they're building the idea of a thematic trilogy, which I would be down for. Right? Yeah. Like
with this team,
different archetypes of different things, and an exploration of grief and an exploration of culture as far as like flavor and the food. Like, what is more tied to culture than a food? Like, when you go to a new place, what's the first thing you want to do?
Where we're gonna eat?
Let's try the food.
You want to know what you want to know what they eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are certain cultures that there's also the idea that religion and religious practices are tied to food as well. Such as Judaism,
Christianity.
I mean, you go up on Sunday and you receive the host, the bread, the little Cheez-It wafer, and
the Cheez-It wafer. I can't believe I'm 42. I've never heard Cheez-It. That's hilarious.
And
Mark, are you listening, Mark? You got to put that in there. Cheez-It's coming soon.
So like it's and then you have Judaism where you have a fast, and you have the with Passover you can't eat anything with leavened bread, and it's interesting because this is kind of pairing a mythology, which a lot of religious theology is mythology, with the idea of how people eat.
Yeah.
And how they make food a religion. Because this guy he's talking about this guy that comes to the city with very, very little in his hand, except for his father slips him his grandmother's, chai marsala recipe. And just how it's very methodic, how they make it. And it's kind of comparing to how methodic people can be about their religion and how they practice it.
It's a ritual, right? 100%. Like food preparation is a ritual, including Ritz crackers and peanut butters. And everybody just wish a happy birthday to Eric real quick. Happy birthday,
Happy
Ian.
birthday,
Happy
fellow
birthday,
people.
man.
Happy birthday, man.
I got to hang out with that sexy man last weekend, and I miss him already. Brian, what'd you think about Rare Flavors?
Oh man, yeah. I loved it. I mean, it's the same team, Many Deaths of Layla Starr, and yeah, I agree, Chris. I mean, I love his superhero work, but his the indie stuff, and the very first one I read of his also has Indian mythology in it, and I think it holds up really well. It's called These Savage Shores, and that has the Rakshasas in it, and that one's like more of a clash of the, that was around when if I remember, I don't think the East
British,
India
right?
Company had like completely won by this point, so it was like mid battles, and there was like vampires and Rakshasas, and you talk about innovative panel work and stuff like that. I mean, it's like he's already, this is his first thing, I think, was that self-published one,
Black Mamba.
Yeah. That These Savage Shores came out. That was one of the early Vault releases that, just fantastic. Highly recommend that one.
Check out more of our conversation with Rom. The first one, we've had two. Check out the first one. He talks a lot about that book in that conversation.
Yeah. And it's but yeah, this Rare Flavors was everything I was wanting it to be. It's, this a team that's already worked together, knocked one out of the park, and they're just going to do it again. Is what it seems like.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
keep working together. Yeah, please do.
Yeah,
Manny,
that's when you mentioned the trilogy, I got excited. I'm already signed up, right?
Oh, well, you know it, brother. You know it, man. I know that anything Rom does, you're going to get. In fact, anything of anybody who's ever been on our show, Brian buys. Just so you know. So if you really want like Brian to buy everything that you ever create, just be on the show, and it will happen. So Todd, that's a tall order to you, and Rob, that's a tall order to you.
I don't have
Todd
that kind of money, man. I don't have that kind of money.
Manny, tell us what you thought about this book, and then throw it over to Nick. I'll be right back. I got to fucking piss.
I've been on this show about 40 times. I've got t-shirts, link in the description below, Brian, if you're so inclined. No, Rare Flavors was really good. I liked this Ron V. It feels very much like an extension of Layla Starr. I didn't even think about These Savage Shores, but again, it fits in with that. I love creators that take their own cultural touchstones and add it in. It's such a it feels really cool. It's a really cool way to expose something that's really, really personal to you, to the readers, and just really get, otherwise you don't see it, right? Like there is no. If I were to say, that there's a Chamorro superhero, like nobody would know what that means unless I write that Chamorro superhero, right? So I dig that. Rare Flavors was cool. I like the tea recipe. I like the recipe inserts. It's very intentionally put in with the story of the character, because just like the masala tea, it needs to be boiled. It needs to go through a crucible that needs to be strained, pulled, and eventually cut down. And that's really what happens with the character that the demon is talking about. It's a character that goes out into the world with nothing, and he gets into construction, and he has to build up. He ends up getting built and pulled and strained, ends up building flavor as he's adding a wife and child and all these things, until eventually he's just a cup that's getting cut more and more and more. He still owes on his stall. His wife and children are gone. At the end of the day, he's left with nothing left in the cup. And I think that that's a really, really cool exploration. I love the way that the demon is portrayed and the hero is portrayed in the painting, and how that mirrors the two characters as they sit at the table. This isn't just him finding a documentary filmmaker so he can be Anthony Bourdain. This is him doing a do-over on that battle. He is picking a hero that is going to mirror a failure he had. And anyone who goes and says, I know that sucked, I know I failed, but I'm over it, I'm totally over it, is not fucking over it. So there's definitely something going on with
Kudos.
that. So totally digging rare flavors. And I want to say it too, because Robbie got to say it. I've had Rom on the channel twice too. All right, Nick, it's speaking of on the channel twice, Nick double dips every Wednesday for Whiplash Wednesday. So Nick, what?
Can I just say one moment? Kudos, Manny, for getting that whole like I didn't even notice that with the rematch thing with the painting.
Yeah,
like,
that's actually really profound.
That's cool.
But I will say this: one of those times you had Rom on, I was there, so that's technically 2.5 for me.
All right,
Nick.
I would just like to say, anytime that anyone wants to have Rom on and just want someone to just sit there like.
That's what I got Brian for. Nick, what do you think?
That was my pick.
It was just
Chris.
It's Chris's turn.
Oh shit! It's Chris's turn.
Well,
Chris, go.
I do want to say Rom V has also been on Lost in Comics, but I believe it was at a time when our channel had peaked too early, and I just wasn't ready for him. But I sincerely mean that. Every time I think about that interview I had with it, it was actually right when he, he was writing Catwoman, and Blue and Green had just come out, but I had him on, and I was mesmerized, like Carrie, like you're talking about, and I felt particularly mesmerized in that interview. I will never forget it.
Well, just watch the first time I had him on the channel. Me and Brian were like,
yeah,
we really
that's how I felt.
We were
It's
like
a bit now.
It was like that Chris Farley sketch on SNL where you're like, you remember that time where you did this? That was really cool. Chris, what you got?
It's like you're yelling in oh God, what's the Ninth of Roxbury? You're like, Richard Grieco.
Let's go with I'm going with Rumpus Room issue number 1, AWA. Right, we since we're talking about Mark Russell so much this evening, the more I think about this book, the more I like it. We have a main character, Bob Shrunk is the name. He's a billionaire who has everything. He's the kind of guy, the kind of billionaire that has no fear of consequences, because he makes the rules and he owns the world and the people in it. He feels above the law because he pays the law, right? And they serve him. And anybody that this millionaire, doesn't anybody that defies him ends up in the Rumpus Room. And what the heck is a Rumpus Room? Well, it's a room full of Mr. Bob Shrunk's personal prisoners, right? And when Bob needs more skin cream, he needs skin cream, that he's got this disease, and in order for him to treat that disease, he has to create that skin cream from humans. So, man, we're talking a lot about human sacrifice tonight, but so he has to call on a new human sacrifice from the prisoners that are in the Rumpus Room. Now, the thing that really, the pull in this one, the hook for me, is that those that are imprisoned in the Rumpus Room, they have to decide who is going to be chosen for the next sacrifice, right? And it's not funny, but it's kind of sad how quick, people are to turn on one another than to fight the system, than to fight the captor, right? To team together and, hey, why don't we just overrun this dude that's throwing us in here? Like, let's make a plan. No, it's more like, let's turn on each other first. And there's a lot to be said about that, right? So like most Mark Russell books, it's thought-provoking. There's that sarcastic humor, satirical nature, and there's always something deeper being said. And I think it's a really good message. I really, really like this book a lot. Can't go wrong with Mark Russell. I mean, look at Mark Russell's year this year. It's unbelievable.
He's had a great year. That was a great book. Carrie,
Yes.
What's your next pick?
My next pick. Let's go ahead and go with. All right, you know what? Fuck it. Daredevil, the new #1. I read it.
Oh, you got that Frank Miller cover, fresh.
Nice.
He's up and coming. He's gonna have a future.
So like, what was really intriguing to me about this is that it was a #1 for Marvel that actually worked for me. I was able to pick it up and I was able to understand what was going on, and there was enough explanation, but not too much explanation as to what had happened. And I was able to enjoy it and get it. So, yeah.
I really liked it too, and I would encourage you to check out the Zdarsky run because it leads up to that. Like it follows directly from it, and it does it in a very cool way. And I was worried about, is it Aaron Cutter who is the artist on this one?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was worried that his art, I've never seen it like with a lot of spotted blacks, and Daredevil like needs to seep in darkness. And I was worried that it wouldn't translate well. It works. It works 100%. And it really was the biggest surprise for me. We can all talk about these picks during our rapid fire, by the way. Brian, what's your next pick?
I'm going to go with Kaya 11. This is the end of the second arc. And this is one of my favorite books of the year. Wes Craig became, a top tier artist for me with Deadly Class. Because his spatial sense in his art in that book was just mind-boggling. Like it's just like everything, part of me was wondering if he built like 3D models of the things just so he could draw them all out, and then I don't know if y'all have read Deadly Class, there's elements of that art style in this, but like this is I don't know, I guess maybe young adult level kind of fantasy.
It's a whole different aesthetic too, right?
Yeah.
Visual.
And it's all about world building. Deadly Class was a very set kind of thing, and it took a long time, and it was a long story. It was great.
Character and like, it's like character and like premise driven, right?
Right.
The original, like Deadly Class, but this one is like you said, world building.
And if you get into the fantasy type world building, this is perfect because and it launches you right in. And I don't remember there being any exposition really. So it's just like you're just learning it as the scenes are developing, right? And it's got the whole hero's journey effect going on. People taken out of their comfort zones and thrown into these things, and then there's all these different relationships, and it's just Eric, and that's part of why I wanted to bring this up because I don't hear people talk about this book very much, and this is. I think this is one of the best books of the year. I mean,
every single month I talk about it, and I say the same damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Okay. It's been a couple months.
Yeah. You've haven't been here in a while. I'll say this: does anybody know Tom King's address? We need to send him Kaya because it's tons of exposition and world building without exposition. I'm never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say one last thing though. So this is a good jumping on point because this is the end of the second arc. So the trade's going to come out. The trade for this one's going to come out in the next month or two. And so there's another trade for 1 through 5. I'm sorry.
So we can jump on right there.
Well, you can go ahead and pick up 2 trades here pretty soon. And issue 6 is he's doing something cool for people that pick up the floppies. After each arc is done, he does one issue that's not going to be collected in a trade. That helps build up the story. It's like a one shot. And so the next issue 12 will be that, it won't be collected in trade, but
By the way, I appreciate that. And I love building up the idea of getting in with the floppies, even at a later date on these indies, but that's some bullshit to not collect a book in a fucking trade. That's some bullshit. Department of Truth is doing that shit. It's bullshit is what it is. And I'll tell you this, I bet the deluxe hardcovers have them in there. So, all right.
Yeah.
For my last pick, it was Jack Kirby's Star Warriors featuring Adam Starr and the Solar Legion. This is one of Jack Kirby's first comic books ever. He did it at the age of 22. First time Jack Kirby ever drew a monster. First time he ever drew a spaceship. First time he drew a lot of different shit is in the pages here. And what Tom Scioli did was he took the book and he actually redrew it. So when I did my review, I was like, I think he just remixed it and like moved some panels around. No, he redrew it, but he did move it around, space it out a little bit differently. But it is 100% Jack Kirby, and it really brings that energy across. And this is just such a fun book. It smells delicious, and it just reads great. It's $10, but it is so worth it to preserve and actually, unlike George Lucas, needingly remaster a timeless classic right here. The Jack Kirby Star Warriors featuring Adam Starr. And we're near sold out at my comic shop, and I ordered heavy on it, but I plan on getting more. So if you can't find it, reach out to me. We'll hook you up with the PCP discount because we love you. All right, now it's time for rapid fire, everybody. Manny, kick us off tonight, my man.
Boom. You know what? I didn't do any Radiant Black or any Power Rangers this month. So what does that tell you? That tells you, man, well, slipping. But Incredible Hulk issue number 4 was a good half issue. It would have made one of my picks, but it doesn't. They're not finishing for me, and I need them to finish for me. I need to know that I'm pretty. Junior Baker, Righteous Faker. I don't know what the fuck was happening in this book, but it looked really cool. So I that one made my pick. I honestly could not tell you what the hell happened in that book, but the art was phenomenal. And because I didn't throw any love to the big two, let's go. Oh, I did. Fuck them then. I just gave some love to Hulk. All right. So those were.
Was that what that was?
No.
Did anybody read Righteous Baker Butcher Maker? Because is this book connected to it? Because I never read that. I like Joe Casey, but I was lost as fuck, bro.
Oh, dude, it's confusing as shit. But it really the art style is awesome.
It's like Martin Simmons almost in a way, right?
It's there's that mixed medium feel. It's like that. What's that one that just came out where they use the cell phones to control your brain? Zach Kaplan.
Oh, that's a mindset.
Mindset.
Yeah.
It's got that same kind of art style, and I fucking loved it.
That was John Pearson did that.
Yep, and that was really good. So screw it. You know what? Because I have it on deck, I was surprised by this book, like a lot. Like
maybe we can call each other later on this week and you can explain that fucking book to me, because this is the one time where I'm like, I wish I had a Rockin' Robbie to explain this one to me.
We did in the comments of his video. Me and Manny worked it out.
There's fucking monkeys and policing. It's social commentary. The thing that surprised me, I love Cy Spurrier. If you put me and Cy in a room together, one of us is getting pregnant. I fucking love that guy. And Mike Deodato is my favorite, artist.
You get like a junior vibe going on with Cy Spurrier, man.
Dude, you don't.
I'll tell you what, man, real quick. I don't want to interrupt during rapid fire, but did Deodato's lines seem different?
They did.
Deodato's lines seemed forced as fuck. That's the thing. Okay, so I love Mike Deodato. I love and honestly, on paper, it sounds phenomenal, because the fact that this man won't stick to a panel works really well for the Flash, because the Flash is moving around. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. But when he did his style thing, it just felt like style. It was Salt Bae putting gold on a ribeye that didn't fucking need it. And I feel like that was a problem. However, I will say, when Cy Spurrier was announced and you read the solicits, I was worried he was going to take all that good work that Jeremy Adams did with the Flash family during his run and push it out the window, because Cy Spurrier wanted to somehow work Legion and Nightcrawler into this book. That's what I was worried about. That did not happen. In fact, this book picks up exactly where 800 left off. And yes, I know that was a lead-in, but it picked up exactly there. We got Linda, we got Jai, we got Irie, we got even Jesse Quicken, fucking Jay Garrick were in the background. We got touchstones on Mr. Terrific's kid from issue 799.
Max Mercury is up in there, right?
Max Mercury.
But the Linda stuff was really interesting. That
was great.
One of the things I like about Dawn of DC is it does feel like a return to continuity. And it's one of the reasons why is because Mark Waid and Josh Williamson are spearheading it.
Right on. Yeah.
So this book was better than I thought it was going to be. I don't think Cy gets the voices of the character, at least not in the way Jeremy Adams did, and I need to adjust to that. Like dialogue wise, it was a little clunky for me that way. But otherwise, I thought this was a solid first outing. And of course, gorillas taking police officers in little bubbles. That's that to me is just, if that doesn't speak to the condition of policing in the United States right fucking now, then I don't know what does.
They did it better in Tales from the Hood. Trust me. I just watched that last night. Very excited for that one.
Dude, you don't even know. You don't even want to hear the talking to myself fucking soliloquy about a perception.
Oh, you just muted yourself.
What?
Oh my God. I heard that. I paused the movie and I paced around my room. Like it was
Just let him go.
Life-changing freaking no. Anyway.
So Grant Morrison, the one superhero comic at DC that they continuously say they wish they got to do was a 5-year plan on the Flash. I think Psy is trying to do that. And I'm there for it, but I was a little bit lost on issue 1. But if I'm lost on a Grant book and don't mind it, I got to be okay with a Psy book. Nick, rapid fire, what you got?
Okay, we have Infield Gang Massacre, issue number 2, right? We're on issue number 2 now. Love that book. It smells beautiful. Everything about this issue was great. Lots of cool gunfire and things like that. And I just like the progression of it. Lots of great action, amazing artwork. Definitely check that out. Not in that Texas Blood universe, but obviously, you know, it's going to be related somehow. We'll see how it all ties in at the end. That's a great book. One book I'm really glad actually to come back.
Did you, by the way, watch Chris biting his lip when you were talking about that?
I did.
I literally saw it.
This
I know.
is the universe, Nick.
I know. Next time he needs to be in front, and so I can take up.
No.
All right. One book I really like coming back from Priest. We have Superman Lost, actually, issue number 6. I'm digging this run so far. I'm loving it, and I like the whole realization that the people he's stranded with right now, the Lantern that he's been grooming because she has no idea that she is a Lantern. She has the powers. He's grooming her, has developed a relationship. And now she's like, no, you cannot leave me. I don't care if you want to go back to your home. You are now mine and I need to keep you. I liked all that. And it ended in a really interesting way too, with like maybe a future Superman stopping him from achieving this goal of going back home. So we're going to see where it goes. Cool mystery there. Ed Piscor's Red Room Crypto Killers number 4. One of the gnarliest books I've ever read in my life. If you've read Red Room books leading up into this and you think that he was pushing the boundaries with those, nope, he completely smashes them with this and kind of left me speechless at the end.
That's one of my lists, so I'll mark that off.
God damn it. Batman 137. I think last month we talked about the fact that we would talk about this book and we didn't talk about it, but this one was really, really cool as well. I like the fact that the entire family is contemplating behind Bruce and AK Batman's back about how do we deal with him. There's an awfully nice offer on the table right now that seems to be working. Batman's not on board. He has to take on the whole family in this issue, and it kind of comes to a head. Would love that. And then my last book, we talked about this guy a couple times already. Mark Russell's Traveling to Mars, issue number 8 with that great homage cover. He finally gets to Mars, but is the mission over? We learned a little bit about what exactly has to happen next. And yeah, I'm along for the ride. One of my favorite books of the year.
You should have got Howard Chaykin to sign that one.
Yeah, he would have kicked my ass if I got him to sign that one.
He would have just got out right out of his fucking seat and kicked your ass, bro.
He would have.
By the way, Christopher Priest, the writer of Superman of Christopher Lost. I almost said there's Superman Priest, the writer of Christopher Lost was there. Did you get to meet Chris?
No, I did not. So like my blinders were on and I didn't.
Oh, bro, I had such a great conversation with Priest. In fact, let me just.
Well, you sat down, right? With him? Is he the guy that made you sit down?
He made you sit down with him. That's great. I'm trying to make sure I got the right one here.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, there I am with Christopher Priest, man.
Nice.
Fucking, I just had a good chat with him about why the MCU sucks and why Black Panther by him is awesome. All right. He likes everything about the Black Panther except for Everett K. Ross. We'll talk about that all on Sunday night, Rockin Robbie Live.
Yeah,
Chris.
I definitely need to hear about you meeting Chris Bichello.
Oh, it's all coming. Saturday night, Rockin Robbie Live, Carrie. Be there or be a fucking... And we kick those squares off the fucking show.
Saturday or Sunday?
Did I say Saturday?
You said Saturday.
I meant Sunday, Saturday, man. I'll be on Dylan's Horse Show. All right, maybe I've had too many sours tonight. All right, Chris. Speaking of sour,
Man,
what do you got? Rapid fire.
God.
Go ahead.
Now, just man, that Crypto Killers, holy crap, dude! That issue gave me like my stomach was actually like hurting. But
He had to
oh,
remind us
whew.
about the weight of what we were dealing with because we were having too much fun with Red
We
Room.
were having too much fun. with it,
Holy
yeah.
crap, man, that was brutal.
Yep.
All right, here's my rapid fire. We got Marvel Unleashed Throg. This is the pets of Marvel coming together to become heroes together, and it's not like they're going on this small mission. They're going up against the demonic prince Blackheart. You got Throg, Frog of Thunder, and you find out that heroes don't just wear capes. They bark, they bite, they have wings. This is quirky. It'll make you smile, make you laugh a little bit, and you're gonna go on a real adventure. This is surprisingly really fun, and I'm really enjoying that book.
It was one on my list I had to mark off, Chris. Plus, Nick is there. I got to talk to Kyle and compliment him in front of his daughter, of which he was very
awesome.
appreciative of.
He was like, finally.
He was like, finally, someone's justified my existence.
I am cool. I've been telling you for years.
I love that he's having that opportunity to bring that style and that humor that he has to a big 2 book, and that they're letting him do it.
And the art is way better than it should be for this kind of book. It's really good 2 issues in, and I told him about this show in particular and said, you've been a topic of conversation all year long, bro.
100%.
So we're doing Kyle's work, just so you know.
Hell yeah. All right. So next up, we've got, I'm going to bring this up, Action Comics number 1057. So if you didn't know, right here on the cover, this guy right here, this is the first appearance of Glenn Clark. Who the heck is Glenn Clark? He is a member of the Lost in Comics family. He watches our show. He is maybe the biggest Superman fan that I personally know. He was there with us at Heroes Con, Robbie, but he is constantly tagging Philip Kennedy Johnson and they talk Superman on Twitter all the time. And Philip Kennedy Johnson, dude, wrote him into the book, man. The guy that you,
that's fantastic.
The Glenn, these first couple of pages, Glenn, the guy that's working there, and they're having lunch and they're eating. Glenn is Glenn Clark from the fan.
Too cool, man. Too cool.
How freaking cool is that, dude? And
oh my god!
And here's another level of coolness. Philip Kennedy Johnson messaged Glenn and asked him, "Is it okay if I use your wife and your son's name?" And even if you notice in those 2 pages, his wife and his son are mentioned, and it's their actual names. So cool.
Dude,
so
that hits
cool.
even harder than the actual scene does. With the scene hits hard. It's a great scene, but man, that's another layer.
It definitely is. So I'm
Tom
so
King.
excited
That's
for
my pick of the week. Then fuck it.
Oh my god.
So and shout out to Glenn. And the comic was really good too. The comic was good. So there you go. Next up, let's go with let's do Tenement issue number 4, Image Comics, Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino, and this one is just shrouded with mystery. I mean, it's been a slow, steady build. Little by little, we're getting more clues as to what the heck this world is, who the players are, who are the real monsters. And you remember when the story began, and there was that old man who's giving the key to the young boy. There's a mystery there, and there's something with that guy, right? And something, maybe he's not gone after all. I don't know, but this is really fun. I love the slow buildup. I love the attention to each of the characters, each of those tenants in the tenement. And I love that comic. And I will end it with Batman, Superman, World's Finest, number 19. Mark Waid, obviously, on that one. If you're looking to go into just like a classic comic book adventure, I mean, these last 2 issues, it's not like it's something original, right? But look no further than this comic, right? This is Batman and Superman, an origin story. And it's if you are a Bat and Superman fan, this is the stuff that you love. The early days of our favorite characters. It's just a joy watching them. Their quirks, their ticks, they're learning to fight with side by side with each other. This is the stuff of fun comic adventure. I really recommend that comic. And you have to get just issue 18 and 19 to read that short arc. So that was a lot of fun.
And yeah, that's been a really cool book. And with Tenement, you took off another book on my list, so congratulations. And I dare Tom King to put me in a book.
What?
All right, Carrie, what you got? Rapid fire.
With no words.
I think
I'm just silent.
at
I'm
this
like
point-
that. I'm like that mime and silent movie by Mel Brooks that just goes, no. Hey, Robbie, would you like to be in this book? No, and they kill me. Darkseid just kills me. The Omega sanctions me to fucking fuck off.
It just says Darkseid is next to it.
Yeah. Oh my God,
I think
I
at
love
this point, I have a better chance of being in a Tom King book than Robbie does.
But
But
I think he would love to Omega sanction me. I think he would love to Darkseid is me.
Ow.
all right, let's get into this here. All right, we're gonna talk about You've Been Canceled number 4 real quick. Great end to the series, really awesome. 4 issues, pick it up. I went from hating this book to loving it.
That's by our friend Kurt
Nice.
Perez.
That end is great.
Oh,
It's an
Pierce.
awesome
Pierre.
finale.
God damn it,
Pierce.
so fucked it up.
P in the
Pierce.
airs.
Yes, Pierre.
Pierce.
Queen of Swords, badass women with big ass swords. Okay,
Enough said.
that's all you need to say. That's all you
Like
need to
that
say.
one.
And that's the end of this arc. It looks like we're going back to the Owen and Axe and Soren and all them. So, rock on.
Yeah, great series.
This is never long enough for me. When I'm
Oh.
getting into it, it's ending. And so many, it just feels like it feels like Mark Millar decided, George Martin, hold my beer, okay? Because I'm gonna kill everybody.
There's some bullshit attached to that. I guarantee it. There's some kind of
hope-
timey
Oh, there
wimey.
is for sure.
It's
There's-
some.
there's gotta be-
It's all undone by the end, and we're all going to be like,
when
"Fuck, we were
when
wrong."
Eggsy takes it to the head, guys. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
He did it
dude,
after too.
That upset me a little bit.
It's a great issue though.
Birds
Yeah.
of Prey, new Birds of Prey, wonderful. Kelly Thompson, thank you very much. This is a great team assembled. Take a look. It's in a book, The Reading Rainbow.
Take a look. I thought the printing was off on that book. No, that's her choice.
That's her choice.
I'm coming to terms with that. I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay. Penguin.
Oh, that's one on my list.
Yeah. This is savage.
By Tom King, friend of the show.
It's savage. Like, just think Megan Thee Stallion while you're reading this, okay? I don't want to take too many away. Okay, I got 3 more I can mention. Batman and Robin. I love this whole continuity thing DC's got going on. Keep it up, because they're connecting this, even though it's not directly connected to the Gotham War. They're connecting it to the Gotham War still by talking about stuff like they're talking about the Gotham War, and I love it. Keep it up. It's so awesome. Again, Gotham War. Everything's coming out involving the Gotham War. Absolutely beautiful Catwoman issue. Teenie Howard just breaks your goddamn heart. And obviously, Batman White Knight presents Generation Joker, penultimate issue, keeping it going in that universe.
I
Are
will
you
just say
team?
that-
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just are you who's team Cat and who's team Bat?
Cat.
Ooh.
I really am actually like, I understand that Batman's like possessed by like a multiverse of Batman demons called Zur-En-Arr, but like, why
it's
would
there.
any of them think that it was okay for Batman to be like, yeah, I'll ignore this fucking petty crime? That's
Since when,
literally
right?
what killed his parents, was petty crime.
Right.
That's the whole point of the mission. And Dick, y'all wait till you read next week's Batman. Because Dick, fuck you, man. You made a promise on a fucking candle, man. Fuck you, man. Anyway, what he's doing to Jason is fucked. It
Team
makes me
Bat.
go, God damn, Bruce. Calm
I
down.
haven't read the Red Hood issue that came out a couple
It's
days.
not-
I haven't read it
you
yet.
don't have to. You don't have to.
Well, I'm a big Red Hood fan, so
Then you should. Then you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
So I'm
all
going
right.
to check it out.
I just want to say real quick though that the Penguin fucking slapped. That book was
Oh
amazing.
my god!
Tom King structured
Very
that
good.
book and paced that book so fucking well and actually handled the narration very well. I was never bored and I was in it. And by the end of it, I gave a shit about a character that I never gave a shit about because it was from a really shitty book called Batman Killing Time, The Help. Cool character, though, by the way.
Yeah,
All right,
cool
Penguin,
character.
Very cool.
Penguin was fucking great. Just goes to show you, I don't hate Tom King. I just hate.
Some of his
We're
stuff.
gonna move on. All right, Brian, rapid fire.
All
What
right.
you got?
Okay. Got Detective from this month. I don't remember the number. 1074.
That's on my list.
Um,
The backup alone.
well, that's what I was going to say. It honestly, it's more for the backup because one of my favorite obscure characters of all time is Ten-Eyed Man.
Yep.
And he was originally introduced in the 70s and he was just weird, and then Grant Morrison brought him back and then, made him
City.
even cooler. And then Dan Waters took Grant Morrison's and made it even way cooler. Because I mean what was that book came out earlier this year? I think
Arkham City.
Order of the World.
Order of the New
Order of
World.
the World. Man, yeah. And so like I saw this and I was very disappointed that it's a one thing because when it said end at that bottom right corner, I just went audibly. It was like because I could use way more of this. I mean that stuff
Well,
is just
you
amazing.
remember
And
the
it was-
conversation we had with Rom, and then subsequently with Dan, and there's plenty of Dan's got a lot of work to do in the Gotham world, so we're all good.
Yeah, and I gushed about Ten-Eyed Man in the interview with Dan too. So if
Yeah,
you want
you
to
did.
rehash of that,
Just bring Danny back. Whatever you do. Yeah.
but it's also Hayden Sherman art too. By the way, I don't know if we mentioned that. But yeah, and also I'm glad we're getting back into the the opera story and Dustin Nguyen on the art. I mean, seriously, they're putting all the best guys on there. So I don't know, still loving that one. Here's Crusader #1 by Matt Emmons and Andre Lucan. I think.
Oh
is
shit, that's
mainly doing
Matt Emmons.
It is Matt Emmons.
That's fucking the Matt that we met, Nick. I didn't realize he was the writer of Crusader
and artist.
And
Like,
oh my god, I'm so fucking stupid.
I keep telling you that I told you this 2 weeks ago.
Bro,
You probably had that book.
When I said, "Where
Wait.
did you get Crusader in?" And I think this is something with the lunar thing where it was a week late.
Yeah.
And I was like, and it's Matt Emmons. And you're like, who?
He probably
Matt
had that on
Emmons.
his booth.
Damn.
So,
Yeah.
but
What a great
lot
book,
of his stuff.
Matt. Matt's a cool
everything-
dude, by the way.
He's very cool. I know we're in rapid fire, but he does a podcast with Liana Kangas called Comics Inebriated, and they get a guest on to talk about whatever topic they're very passionate about. So it can be like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or Grant Morrison's Batman, and Matt knows next to nothing about superheroes, and it's really funny when somebody comes on that wants to talk about like Grant Morrison's Batman, because I told him this at Heroes. I was like, I honestly am still surprised how you haven't been exposed to any of this stuff. I mean, it's just being in the comic book world, but anyway, this comic, I won't go into it, but it's awesome. He's a young guy that really actually gets graphic storytelling just so well.
He does.
And it's gorgeous.
I can't believe
check
that was
out-
Matt. Nick, did you know that?
No, I had no. Well, as soon
Yeah,
as he
fuck.
showed the cover of that, I was like, wait a minute, because I was on his Instagram earlier when I tagged him on these zines that he put out, and I was like, wait, that looks familiar. Oh shit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he also did this one. I'll show you this real quick. This was from a Kickstarter because he it's called Gardner.
He had that
but,
there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just a beautiful book. So he understands book design too, and all those. He does printmaking too. I think a really talented guy. So yeah,
Friend
I
of
was
the
really
show.
excited for that one. Yep.
He recognized me from Charlotte, man, and like it was great. It was really fun.
Yeah.
I think my key is going to cons without you, and I remember people like Matt Emmons. So there you go.
Yeah, that must be it. But got Godzilla War for Humanity.
Godzilla, damn it! All right, that's
And-
another one.
Part of the reason is it's Mothra. Have you all seen that Mothra one? That movie? Because like that's one of my favorite Godzilla movies because it's the most bonkers one of all of them. It has the it has the two tiny women.
Mhm.
Like, have y'all seen that one? Anyway,
It's been a
like
minute.
he brought, Andrew McLean brought them in, and I was just like, I think I might have squealed audibly when I saw them, because like that movie is just so bizarre and it's so much fun. I was just like, oh, he used them. That's so cool. So, but I'm loving this Godzilla story, and the art is fantastic. So, highly recommend. And then I got this off Matt Kent's website. Came out this month. Ne'er-do-well. This is a collection of what's currently on his Patreon. I looked on that. I think I might start backing that one, because he does. I think it's 4 pages a week, and this story, and keeps going. I think he's running another one. Yeah, I don't know if I can go a month without bringing up Matt Kent. I mean, and this one, when you order stuff directly from him, he often sketches on it and signs it. I mean, so
Lovely.
like, definitely check that out. And then another one a Patreon I want to mention is Uncivilized Books. They're the publisher for things like Maple Terrace from Noah Van Sciver, Ginseng Roots from Craig Thompson, The Sickness from Lonnie Nadler and Jenna Cha. And then the publisher, he does his own comics too. But if you join their Patreon, it's $5 a month. You get everything they publish. You whatever they publish that month, you get. Sometimes they don't publish something in the month. They are a small publisher, but it's some of the headiest stuff out there, and some of it's just, I don't know, totally worth it. I just wanted to plug that one there.
I've read Maple Terrace 1, but not that one. And
Yeah,
Maple
this is
Terrace
a new
was
one.
awesome. Yeah.
And it is around Doomsday, the original Doomsday issues. So it's pretty cool. And then this is a graphic novel. It's called Liberated, and it's by Kaz Rowe. They have a YouTube channel that my wife turned me on to. They're really interested in the Victorian age, and does these insane deep dives into all these things. A lot of the 1800s and early 1900s of Europe. And I've never heard of this person, and it's a biography of a woman named Claude Cahoon. That's her artist name. I can't remember the original name, but she was Jewish, and it's about her and her wife growing up, living through the early 1900s. So they're Jewish and gay, living in France, which was maybe slightly more tolerant than Germany for those groups. I mean, they're they had to face all that, and then the war broke out, and deals with all that, and it's fascinating. They were part of the surrealist movements. They worked with Andre Breton, and all this stuff. So and I'd never heard of her, and so it was a really cool read. I believe this is their first full graphic novel. I'm not sure what else they've done, but
they were hanging all around the Lost Generation and the expatriates from the United States, like Fitzgerald and all them. So.
Yeah, they definitely, I'm sure they were with the stuff, the section in the 20s there. That was, they were a big part of that scene and everything. And it was a great read, and they're a talented cartoonist. I mean, I think it's worth checking out. So that's what I got for this month.
All right. For my rapid fire, Sacrificers #2, Rick Remender, Max Fiumara doing another fucking brilliant book. 2 issues in. I'm really digging it. The art's great. Children of the Vault #2. Dennis Camp making an X-Men book I actually care enough about to put here on my rapid fire. Great high concept type stuff, but really cool gnarly stuff involving Bishop and Cable. Batman Incorporated #12. Matt Brisson. His entire Batman Incorporated 12-issue saga was amazing, and it ended in fantastic fashion. The Vigil #5, a great penultimate issue that explains everything. It uses exposition, but it uses it poetically and ties it into something that I personally am very attached to, which is conspiracy theory. So it's talking about the Philadelphia experiment and how that directly relates to the origin of everybody in the Vigil. Hexagon Bridge #1. Cool sci-fi concept, brilliant artwork, spacious, absolutely great aesthetic to that one. Void Rivals #4. First appearance of Shockwave in the Energon universe. Yeah, that scene came out of nowhere. But what I love is that Robert Kirkman, in the midst of all the hoopla over Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers, which comes out next week, by the way, I guarantee you it's going to be the pick of the week. It's just too fucking badass. I've looked at the list. It's amazing, but he's crafting his own story, and it's making and carving out its own identity. Conan the Barbarian #3. It is classic, old school, Savage Sword Conan, and it works. The Oddly Pedestrian Life of Christopher Chaos #4. That book impresses me more and more every single issue. By the Horns, Dark Earth #12. A great conclusion to book 2 overall, and a really great setup to what's to come. But my final bit here, Blade 3. Y'all, we've made some things happen, I think, here. Jordi Belair is no longer the colorist of Blade. They got a new colorist in, somebody Diaz, I think.
We did it.
I can actually see, I can see fucking everything. It's all clear. Great color choices. And this was the best issue of Blade yet, because Blade has had a solid story by Brian Hill. It's had a great grip on the characterization and all the different characters. And it's had a great pace. And it's had really good line work, really good artwork. But the coloring has been hindering and holding this book back. In issue 3, we have a new colorist. And I can see everything clearly, and it works, y'all. I think we're doing the Lord's work, y'all. We made Blade a better book. So there you go. Blade #3 is my final pick. All right.
There you go.
So there you go. That's rapid fire. That's us. So, Manny, thank you for being here. Final thoughts. What's coming up for you, man? Any plugs?
Manny, you're
on
Are
mute.
you behind us? Or okay, he's muted. Okay.
He doesn't even notice.
Yes.
Manny?
Is it your mic muted?
Oh,
You're like cutting.
you cracked. You cracked
You're
for a
like-
second.
You got a short.
Nick.
What the fuck?
Oh, there he is.
There.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to keep up with Robbie's stuff. I probably crashed my internet. I got stuff going on. There's a bunch of Green Lantern shit coming out. If you don't dig the Green Lantern stuff, well, that's too bad, because I'm in the middle of the Immortal Hulk video and then Heroes in Crisis. So too bad. You're getting Green Lantern stuff in the meantime. But fuck all of that. Seriously, don't even watch Nerdtastic News. What you need to do is you need to go over to Stu, Dr. Doom's fan club, and you need to be checking out Supreme Motherfucking Clientele. All right? If Fable and the crew, Nick is part of that too, I guess. They have an awesome talk show that talks about pop culture. But if you want to see some guys take some really deep dives into comic books, hip hop, and Ahsoka, you want to go and check out Supreme Clientele. So go and check them out, give them a sub, and don't miss those episodes that cap off Whiplash Wednesday each and every week. So make sure you're subbed up.
Nice. Nick, thank you for being here. Final thoughts.
No. Thanks for having me yet again. Recently we went to the Memphis Con. So me and Eric, who's in the chat right now, was actually over with me. He stayed with me that weekend, and we did a kind of a breakdown of the con. So if you didn't check out that live, we did back on Monday. It's on my channel, so make sure to check that one out. I was also recently on Verno's Blood Splatter Chatter. We did Quiet Place 2 with Missing Link. That video released just the other day. I think last night, if I'm not mistaken. So make sure to check that one out over on his channel. Blame Fable is going to be coming. Thank you very much. Blame Fable will be coming to YouTube very, very soon. I believe it's next Saturday. So be sure to look out for that. We're all making a jump over to Instagram, or from Instagram to YouTube, because oh my God, we had so many problems with that freaking thing as of late. But normal stuff, haul videos, key comic breakdowns, how to get into comics, all that good stuff, reviews, everything on my channel. Thanks for having me, dude.
Hell yeah. What about you, Chris? Lost in Comics. What's coming up?
So real quick, Brian, I also have that near duel, Matt Kent with that little sketch. I love this. I love that he rewards the Patreon members for that. Speaking of Matt Kent, he will be on the show this upcoming Thursday, October the 5th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I can't wait to talk to him. We had to postpone last month, but we've spoke. He will be there next Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you guys will check that out. Every single Thursday morning, we have the Lost in Comics Top 3 Comics to Read This Week video that comes out, where I just talk about all the comics that we kind of talked about today. So I hope you guys will check that out. Thank you guys for having me. Love all of you, Robbie, everybody.
Of course.
Thank you.
Gary. Thank you for being here. Final thoughts. What you got coming up?
I've got my channel. I've got I had to postpone my Thursday show, or not Thursday, my Wednesday show this past week due to illness. But we're doing better now, so we're going to be able to catch up with that. We're going to be talking about Scott's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. Some of you never seen that. That's really good. I do all my other stuff on the channel as well, you know, reviews, that kind of thing. Something a little bit outside of the realm of comics. I have a little book coming out in the middle of October, October 17th on Amazon. It is called Woke Bitch. It is a book of poetry
Nice.
and short fiction. It is my third volume of poetry that I have self-published. And if you're looking for it, obviously you're looking for Woke Bitch, except for the I in bitch is an exclamation point. It is, like I said, my third book of poetry, and that has a little bit of a short fiction in it as well. And
You can imagine somebody just going through the poetry section of Amazon and going, "What's this woke bee? Bitch."
Yeah.
What is this book? I got to check it out. I would love it. I got to get a copy of it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's available for Kindle pre-order right now, and the paperback will be available October 17th. And yeah, so if you want to get the same kind of moodiness that you get and profound bitchery that you get here on the monthly comic review or on my channel, but yeah, it's in my poetry as well.
Nice. All right, Brian, thank you for being here, man. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I thought this was a good month for comics, and grateful to get to talk about them and share the passion with everybody. Yeah, thank you.
Now, I'd like 2 eggs over hard.
It's twice, man. Yeah, no, I'm going to be on a couple of the movie nights. Not sure when they are, but I'll be there.
Not sure when they are, but I'll be there.
I always have to wait till Robbie changes the group banner, and I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah, I'm on that one." I better...
Monday, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
man. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I think the one I'm on, first one I'm on, is next Monday. So I think it's the 9th.
Opera, right?
Yeah. I'm on Opera and Ju-on.
Nice.
So, but yeah, and then this month I'm also taking Shelley Bond's comic book editing class. I'm pretty excited about that. She's a very legendary editor. She was hired by Karen Berger in the early days of Vertigo and started off as an assistant editor on Sandman, and then was an editor on Invisibles, I believe, and lots of other things. I think Kill Your Boyfriend with Grant Morrison, and she's got a lot of history, and she's a fantastic person. She's making books. She has her own kind of publishing house with her husband Philip Bond, who was the artist on Kill Your Boyfriend. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, they did Amateur. They did the comic editor's guide or whatever, and now they're doing more.
Yeah, and and they did this one cool thing called Insider Art. That was like anthology with a lot of up and coming creators, kind of moving through a house and stuff like that. I don't know. It was really cool. That was during the pandemic, and so it was kind of like it was a lot of that trying to release from that kind of stuff, I'm not, not necessarily saying I want to be a comic book editor, but it's like I want to learn more about comics, and I've been reading her comic book editing book, and it's just like it's just fascinating. So just really eager to learn about that. So that's what October is going to do. So
hell yeah, man.
Freaking awesome.
As far as us here, we're in the midst of Horror Fest, y'all. Horror Fest is bigger and better than ever this year. Check them out over at Blood Splatter Chatter. They did the show last night, A Quiet Place Part 2, which I think is better than the first one. Join me and the gang over at Dylan's Horror Show on Saturday night for Wishmaster. I watched that the other night, y'all. I have a new appreciation for that movie, as well as this movie, Tales from the Hood. This is the movie that you picked. The PCP Army picked this movie for Horror Fest, and I can't thank you enough. And that's me with Chris Bachalo. That's me with Christopher Priest. That's me with Liana Kangas. That's me with Garth Ennis. That's me with Brian Polito. Rockin Robbie Live, Sunday night. I'll be talking about my Memphis Comic Expo experience. We'll be doing DC in the 90s as well. We'll be doing lots of fun stuff, including the DC sneak peek. And then Tuesday night, Weekly Comic Book Review is going to be a live special edition because it's the 7th anniversary of the Weekly Comic Book Review on Tuesday. And that means 7 years. Every single week, I have delivered the Weekly Comic Book Review, even during COVID, when Diamond said they stopped delivering comics. I kept it going. It's been nonstop for 7 years, and it has changed my life for the best. And I want to leave you with this, a tease for 2024 PCP Movie Night.
Yes.
All right, y'all, we're dipping out. We love you. Station.
What?
Pop.